Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Through the night, deep in the heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, Ted drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey there, everybody! Welcome back to Bois, King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty is eating a gigantic cookies and cream cinnamon roll.
And it literally is so good. I'm surprised it's not on a Schedule 1 FDA, ATF, CIA drug list.
So I saw that yesterday on Instagram from a company here in town called Baked Bliss. And I showed it to Mason when I came in this morning. And I said, man, have you seen this thing? And then we both looked at it. We both drooled a little bit. And I just got up and I ran out and got 3 warm ones. So.
Oh, yeah, they are. This is indescribable.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
There's no words, just flavors.
Well, it's one of those big fat cinnamon rolls, too. But it's actually kind of light, you know, for something so heavy, you would think.
Yeah, it doesn't feel heavy at all.
However, I'm getting the shakes now because I'm having some sugar withdrawals. All right, so we are at Season 3, Episode 12, 3 Coaches and a Bobby. This is the football episode. Well, I guess one of the football episodes because there's the later ones where they go to the Houston Texans game and all that stuff.
There's quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few football games just because it's a part of Texas culture. This is the first. This is the first episode, I guess, that really shows the football culture of Texas off a little bit in a really heavy way.
Well, I think it shows from little all the way up too. You know, it shows like how little kids get involved. You know, this is middle school football.
Yeah, it's like 6th graders.
Yeah,
out there playing football, and not just playing football, like eating mud, like push-ups in the mud, and being chased by a Buick.
So we start this by. I just want to point out one thing here real quick that comes up several times in this episode. The boys, that being Hank, Bill, Dale, and Boomhauer, they're all standing in front of the middle school football bleachers watching a game, or I guess practice. Yeah. They're watching practice, yeah. They're all drinking beer.
When are they not drinking beer?
Well, I understand that, but this is school property.
Well,
correct?
Okay, yeah.
Or no, this is the municipal field.
It's probably a local. It's probably a city field. It's probably owned by the city or maintained by the city. But even still, you're not supposed to have a beer in those places.
Well, I don't think around children's sports either. Maybe that's not a.
It's probably not a smart idea, especially when sometimes it goes from a children's baseball game to an adult wrestling match.
An
adult wrestling match.
Right. Yeah.
But
I thought this was America.
Yeah. But what I like about this episode though is it really shows a lot of that craziness that's behind football, like how insane people get.
And to be honest with you, I mean, when you're just talking about parents and kids in sports, parents just get nuts.
Yeah, it's just a game.
And screaming at referees.
And it really instills in some of these kids that end up being 40-year-old men. Like later on in their life, they end up being 40-year-old men that all they could talk about was Hey, remember that senior year? Oh man, you see how I threw that football? Like that's
Well,
all
it's
they
like-
talk about until they.
it's
they're
like-
I took Arlen High to state.
Yeah, I took Arlen High to state. They're 40 years old, overweight.
Well,
and
it
they're
reminds
still
me
talking
of
about going
like
to state.
Al Bundy. Is who it reminds me of. Like Married
yeah.
with Children. I mean, that's all he could ever talk
That's all I
about
could
was
ever
the
talk
great
about.
football game.
Because that was the peak of his life.
Oh yeah, that was his peak. Yeah, absolutely. Not marrying Peggy. It was his peak. Wait, is her name Peggy also?
yeah, her name is Peggy.
Holy shit. Okay. Wow. That just
much
hit me really
more
hard.
attractive.
She's a little more
Peggy.
attractive. Yeah, a little
Much
more
more
attractive.
attractive.
Yeah.
Even in her age, even in her.
Do you know she's a singer? She's released several albums.
Well, I watch a lot of Sons of Anarchy,
Mm.
and I really liked her. In Sons
She's
of
great in
Anarchy.
that too. Yeah. And
I
then
really
as
liked her in
as Leela, isn't it on Futurama?
Yeah,
Is it Leela?
Futurama. Yeah. She's
One Eye?
the-
Yeah.
the
She's on the
one eye
Connors
lady.
right now. So.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
She's
Yeah.
Dan's new wife.
Dan's new wife. Wow.
I forget her name. I think her name's Louise. It doesn't matter.
I wish it was Peggy. I wish just everything she was in, she was named Peggy. That would be.
Isn't the Connors the?
It's a Roseanne spinoff.
Roseanne,
because
okay.
Roseanne went nuts on Ambien and called people racist things.
Oh yeah. Oh Roseanne.
Yeah, she had
love
it.
her.
She had it good too. She was like royalty. Yeah,
you gotta love her.
She was
Then she
comedy
went
royalty.
full sours.
Oh, she just went nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Oh,
went
it was
more
the
off the
Ambien.
wall.
Shut up.
It was the CTE.
I
She-
take
one too
Ambien, and
many-
that ain't it.
Once when he slaps upside the head from John Goodman.
Have y'all ever taken anything like that, like the Ambien stuff, or any of the sleeping aids like that?
Not to go to sleep recreationally.
Ambien?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
There's
stuff.
no way not to go to sleep.
I
on
plead the
Ambien.
fifth.
No, there's not.
Yeah, I take it on the regular, and I have woken up many a morning, and there's different things just around the house, and different
Yeah.
things have been done. So I've never grabbed my keys and gone for a drive, which
Well, that's
I'm
a good
very
thing.
happy about.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, I would be dead. Okay, so we start in front of the bleachers, all four guys standing there drinking and watching practice. Hank says, Bobby looks pretty good in that uniform. Everybody, of course, has to agree because Bobby, there's no way he looks good in that uniform.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He says, I think Cougars have a chance this year. Everybody says nope. And that's it. And then we go to credits. We got no bell, no yell.
No bell, no yell. You heard it here first, folks.
So the first scene, we see Hank going out with the boys at an overpass or a drainage ditch, I guess, really. And Wolves #1 has been spray painted in graffiti on the side of this thing.
Yep.
It also, there is a reoccurring name that shows up in this graffiti. The name is Crunky, Krunky. I don't know what Crunky is, but I'm assuming it's either an inside joke,
Or a mascot.
something.
Yeah,
Crunky.
like Crunky the Armadillo or
So
something.
he could be Crunky the Armadillo. That's actually a
It could be.
decent mascot. I like
Yeah.
that. And he just gets crunk.
That's it.
So
That's all he knows is the crunk.
they are kind of going through a fence, and you know how drainage ditches are. If you don't live in Texas, I'm sure you have the equivalent where you are. These drainage ditches and little overpasses that get a lot of graffiti and things on them because kids are down there doing whatever. And so what we come to understand is that the Wolves and the Cougars have this huge rivalry, and the Wolves have tagged the drainage ditch first, is what I'm seeing here, right? So they're all like, oh, going through the fence and everything. And then Dale, of course, who has an entire ski mask, the whole get up,
The whole
on,
Dale, yeah.
he licks the paint and tastes it and goes, paint.
Yeah,
You had to-
whatever that
you
means.
had to taste it. Then Bill, of course, gets his wife beater caught on the fence. And Hank and the boys, like I say, are they're sneaking around there. He says, boys, the Welton Wolves have already put their mark on this bridge. Now, what does a cougar do when a wolf comes into his neck of the woods? And Bobby says, beats him in football?
Yeah, the
He's
obvious
like-
answer.
He's like, yeah, that's where I was going to end up, Bobby. Now, you Cougars can't be winners until you act like winners, and winners paint bridges. And so he throws the spray paint at Bobby because they're all just like, yeah. And he goes, here you go, winner. And the spray paint just falls through Bobby's hands and goes down into the drainage ditch.
I just think it's so weird too, because this is a thing I remember from being a teenager too. and having adults coerce you into spray painting things.
Hmm.
Like, why?
You had adults coerce you
Well, not
into spray
coerce.
painting things?
Well, not really coerce. I'm not gonna reveal any names.
That's a
but
weird thing.
Like
I had a friend whose
Encourage?
dad. Well, I had a friend whose dad.
Lots of wrought iron.
He there was like a train bridge near their house.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of what this is.
yeah.
That's kinda
One
the
night
train
he was
bridge
like,
thing.
"Hey, y'all want to go down there and go spray paint down by the train bridge?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, I mean, that's probably like a individual experience. I imagine
like-
that doesn't happen often.
He's like, hey,
but-
y'all want to go down there and spray paint on the bridge, and we can take our pants off and we can run around in circles? Yeah, that sounds great, Uncle Dave. Okay, so he drops the paint. He says, boys, important thing to remember is you're from Arlen, and Arlen once had a great team. And here we get our flashback to the teenage days of Hank and Bill and Dale and Boomhauer.
Yeah, this is the first time you get to see that Bill was this
Mm-hmm.
like long-haired, muscular, just
We see the
Nordic god.
he was something. We see the scoreboard first, and it says Arlen 18, San Marcos 20, which San Marcos is a real place around here.
It is. It's in between San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah, and then the other thing at the bottom of this scoreboard, we see Manitoba Cigarettes and Good Team Tires.
Good
so
Team
those are your
Tires.
two advertisers that you see later are gone from the scoreboard.
Please don't forget to rotate them every 1,000 miles.
Well, I just love that it's Manitoba Cigarettes and rubber tires. That's just the best.
I
So
like, I like seeing like cigarette companies get involved in like youth sports.
So Hank he's got this flashback going. He's telling the kids, he goes, we were behind by 2, but luckily we had the finest strategist to ever come out of Heimlich County, Whitey Sowers. And then you see Coach Sowers, who he's dressed like a 60s football coach, white short sleeve shirt, tie on, everything's all buttoned up. He's got the buzz
Isn't
cut.
it a trilby? Isn't that the kind of hat that what's his name used to wear?
Tom Landry?
Yeah, Tom
So
Landry.
you're thinking about? I don't know.
Whatever that hat was.
I just
That's what it
assumed it
reminds
was a
me
fedora.
of. Or fedora. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Whatever the hat was that he
Well, he doesn't
wore.
have a hat on in this.
No, I know he
He's got
doesn't.
that buzz cut.
But whenever you see Tom Landry without his
yeah.
hat, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
buzz
yeah, yeah.
cut. It's
Sure.
that square box like
Oh, yeah, very much so. A lot of coaches look
Yeah.
like this in the 60s. He says, now, how we're going to win state is if we don't go to state. Now, get out there and get me to state. You get us to state, and I guarantee I'll kiss every one of you little pansies right on the mouth. Let's go.
You know who he's
Which
voiced
is
by,
just
right?
a really odd thing to say. Yeah. No. Who is he?
Phil Hendry
Oh, okay. Great.
of the Phil Hendry Show.
Of the Phil Hendry Show.
Yeah, from 1990s.
I don't know what the Phil Hendry Show is.
I think it's a radio show.
Was
What
it?
is- What is our? What is?
Yeah.
It's a very common thing. Sometimes you just name a show after yourself. Jimmy Kimmel Live, Jimmy Fallon, The Elvis Duran Show.
Well, you got to
Yeah.
think to be a single individual on a TV show like that, there's a certain amount of ego that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like David Letterman, everything on his show, when you go back and research it, had to be, he's there on, he really had a big part of everything
Yeah.
that happened with the whole show. And if he didn't like it, he threw it out. That's why when people submitted jokes to him, he would read 1,000 jokes and pick 10. And he would throw out
Sure.
everybody else's stuff. So
Sure.
you know when you're listening for your joke and you don't hear it and you're like, damn, I sucked that bad. David Letterman wouldn't pick my joke.
I'm
you know,
gonna
so-
I'm gonna start a show with just an exclamation mark, and it's just gonna be Mike. That's what it's gonna be called.
Mike.
Mike. It's just gonna be called Mike.
Ah! Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure that out later.
It'd be great.
So he's screaming at him, and this is when we see teenage Hank Boomhauer as the quarterback. By the way, Bill, who we then see
As a guard.
after they score, he takes his helmet off and he's got the long flowing locks, like you said.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of acne also.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
noticed.
acne.
He's got a lot of acne. And so Boomhauer is behind the center. San Marcos is in red and white. Arlen is in blue and white, and Arlen has the ball. The quarterback is Boomhauer, and he, like dang old blitz chain playing the fake handoff to Hank, come around blitz fake reserve hike. And then you see Peggy in the stands. She's like, yeah, because she always screams. And then we see the ball get thrown down to Hank, and him get him go all the way into the end zone, get blocked for by Bill and all that, and so it's a big deal. As they are running to the end zone, we see Dale as a towel boy on the sidelines, of course, and then they score. It's a big thing. Everybody piles on Hank, and then Coach Sauer runs up to Bill, or doesn't run, I'm sure he strides up to Bill and kisses him square on the lips as a celebration of this touchdown, which brings up a lot of homoerotic sort of football-y, touchy-butt kind of
some weird
things.
stuff.
Yeah. And then it goes back to from the flashback, and Bill says, "Damn, that man could coach." Just after he's thinking about getting kissed on the lips.
Damn, that man can coach.
Bobby says, "Oh, how romantic!" And Hank, of course, is like, "What?"
Oh yeah, This is my favorite line of the whole show. He said that mom was there and she saw you make that play, and then right after that game, she canceled a day with that guy who ended up building all those airports.
Hank's like, "Just paint the dang
Just
bridge."
paint the dang bridge, boy.
The next day, we are at the football field. Now it is Cougars 2, Wolves 14, and we see that the current scoreboard only lists the Arlen Parks and Rec Department. So there's no more Manitoba. There's no more good team tires.
Nope.
So the boys are dirty on the bench, sitting there. This is a game going on. Bobby, of course, has his mittens on. And starts to get up and do a little dance on top of the bench.
Yeah, he did a little dance.
Hank is out there just way to go. And Bobby looks at one of the kids on the bench and says, "We need to blitz more. I haven't done my sack dance all day." He's saying this to another one of the players. And Hank says, "Settle down, Bobby. That's the kind of attitude that drove Mark Gastineau into boxing." So I want to explain to you who Mark Gastineau is.
Yeah, who is
Neither one
Mark
of you know who Mark
Gastineau?
Gastineau
No,
is,
I
correct?
have no clue.
Okay, that's what I
No.
thought. All right.
Not a clue.
So Marcus Del Gastineau, born November 20th, 1956, is an American former football player who was a defensive end for the New York Jets from 79 to 88. This guy, he was part of a really, really good defense for the Jets. This is when the Jets had a resurgence, kind of.
I know who he is now.
Yeah, originally the Jets were really good with Joe Namath, and then they fell into hard times, and then they made this resurgence again. He was part of something called the New York Sack Exchange. It was him and Klecko and Marty Lyons and Abdul Sablam. It says the four combined for 66 sacks in 81, including 20 by Gastineau. 20 sacks in one season, which is a damn
crazy.
fine number. In 1981, sacks were unofficial, but Gastineau's 20 sacks trailed Klecko by only half a sack. So both of those guys had 20-plus sacks.
And you know what's
in a
crazy
season.
about that is that since the statistic wasn't recorded then,
Mm-hmm.
there's guys that get like the accolades and stuff for
Oh,
having
sure.
the records and
Yeah.
stuff. And they forget about like the other like 50, 60 years worth of football before all
Yeah.
those particular, because they change what statistics they recorded and kept over the years. So like,
Well, it's like
now every like literally if they like one of them picks their nose on the field, they have the statistic of how many times they pick
Well, it's like
their
in
nose.
basketball,
It's like
you know,
crazy stats now.
in basketball when they invented the three-point line. You know,
Yeah,
all those
yeah.
guys that played before, they didn't have those kind of stats.
No,
you
they
know?
didn't. And now the guys are stepping to the 3-point line and further and beyond and just chunking it. There's so many threes that are thrown now. It's like the 2-point game is no longer even there.
No. And so anyway, he was part of the sack exchange. He was able to go and ring the opening bell at the stock exchange, the whole thing. I mean, he was like toast of the town.
Yeah,
kind of thing. You know, these guys were massive and very, very menacing. Klecko, his teammate, ruptured his patella in the strike-shortened season of 1982. And so Gastineau became like the leader of the defense all of a sudden. And he wasn't really I don't think he was really ready to take over the defensive leadership. And so, but he did appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Lawrence Taylor. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lawrence Taylor, but huge defensive player for the New York Giants at the time. Anyway, in 1986, in the playoffs against Bernie Kosar and the Cleveland Browns, which Bernie Kosar was a fantastic quarterback. I hated his guts. Gastineau was called for a roughing the passer penalty because he came through and, I mean, he creamed Kosar. I mean, creamed him. And so the ref called this penalty on him, and then after the game, Marty Lyons, another one of the guys, said that the referee, Ben Dreith, D-R-E-I-T-H, Dreith, he said, called him a referee who's known to take care of the quarterback, right? You know, quote unquote. And so anyway, the coach said it was a very key play. Mark was just trying to do the best he could, blah, blah, blah. So there was a big upset thing about, you know, how he busted up Bernie Kosar. In 1987, Gastineau was the only Jet regular to immediately cross the picket line in that year's players' strike.
Yeah, they had a player strike.
So
that
this
year,
started
yeah.
his
almost shut the whole NFL down, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and this started his downfall. When he crossed the picket line, he said he needed to pay alimony, so he had to get a check. And I'm assuming that at this time they weren't being paid
Never
nearly
understood
as
alimony.
much. But anyway.
I never understood the whole theory and ideology behind alimony.
That's what Mike is going to be about. We'll just discuss alimony. Yeah.
Just a reminder, alimony is what you pay someone after you divorce
Yes.
them, right?
Yeah.
Is it continuous or?
It can be, yeah, until
I
they
don't-
get married again or something like that. Yeah.
Why
Depends
is-
on how
why-
much of a succubus they are.
But I mean, that's
Yeah, it's
child support makes sense. Alimony's kind of
alimony's not really a thing here in Texas. I mean, there are some people who have to pay it, but it's
Yeah.
not a regular thing. States like California, it's on the regular. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
a
a regular
common-
thing.
yeah.
it's
Makes
very
sense.
common.
That's
Yeah.
why people just don't get married in California.
So
Just
Dodge
That's
the
what
bullet.
they
Dodge the
don't do
bullet
that
before
anymore.
it hits
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, he was called a bad teammate because he was always putting himself in front of the team
Yeah.
for crossing the picket line. Come to find out, I mean, a lot of guys cross the picket line after a while because they all needed to
Everybody
got
got to get paid.
At some
You
point.
get hungry after a while.
But anyway, he led the AFC in sacks.
And that's when they weren't getting paid shit either.
Right, into 88. And then in the 1988 season, about a short way into it, he announced his retirement, like just out of the blue.
Yeah.
He was dating Brigitte Nielsen. Do y'all know who that is?
I do know who that is.
She-
She was the one that also dated Flavor Flav.
She not only that, but she also dated the guy from Rocky IV. I will break you.
Oh
Ivan
yeah.
Drago.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah, she was in, I think, the original Punisher movie with him, or she was Red Sonja
Something like
or
that.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Anyway, he was engaged to her. He announced his retirement, and because she claimed to be suffering from cancer of the uterus.
Mm.
Now, come to find out, there was an investigation done by New York papers saying that she wasn't telling the truth. And
Oh, so just lying about it.
there was
Damn,
all
that's
this
terrible.
weird shit
That
going
is a lot
on,
of
you know,
weird.
with the
Yeah,
two
that's
of
a lot
them.
of weird.
And so Gastineau, he retired as the all-time leader in sacks, and that's since been wiped out. But anyway, in 1981, after his retirement, so he retired in 88, and then he started this in 91. He became a boxer. He boxed for 5 years. In his first fight, Gastineau knocked out Derek Dukes in the first round. Dukes, a professional wrestler who later admitted he took a dive to 60 Minutes, said he fought Gastineau and was told to take dives to make Gastineau look good.
You know,
So
I don't want to interrupt you.
no, you're good. That's really
Yeah.
the story of Mark Gastineau. That's he became kind of a
You're talking
an
about
embarrassment.
exhibition boxing and stuff
Yeah.
like that with football players. That's been a recent thing. So they had
Now it's TikTokers.
They
or
had
whoever
They had
beating each other up.
Le'Veon Bell. They had NFL play retired NFL or NFL football players doing this. So they had Le'Veon Bell, former running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Adrian Peterson. I don't even have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
he's
Sure.
he speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell knocked him out in an exhibition. They boxed and
Really?
he knocked him out. And then I think there was one with Frank Gore too,
Then they
which
all
was
fought a guy
also
on
he was a
YouTube.
Jet. He was also a Jet.
Yeah, Frank Gore?
Frank Gore.
Yeah,
long
I remember that
time.
name.
He was like the oldest. He was like a 39-year-old running back, I think, when he retired.
Wow.
But he was boxing too. They said, hold on, let me see. It was
So-
funny. Yeah, he boxed. He had a pro boxing, and he's got a highlight reel knockout.
I just remember Mark Gastineau as being like a real embarrassment. You know, he was like toast of the town to
Yeah.
complete embarrassment.
Yeah,
Uh,
it happens.
And so when
Deshaun Watson
when
toasted the town.
Deshaun Watson's a whole different thing, but I can't that guy.
Well, that's a whole
I
different thing.
just
But it's
can't
still,
with
you know,
that
he was
guy.
the toast of the town whenever
I
when
know.
he got
I
there.
just can't with that guy. Anyway, when Hank mentions that you don't want to do that by causing all the sacks and wanting to blitz more, and you don't want to be like Mark Gastineau.
Yep.
So that hopefully that makes a little more sense now. Peggy is with Wendy in the stands. Wendy, I don't think we ever see Wendy again, do we?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
So Peggy's screaming, "Do not just stand there scratching Coach Maxwell. You're not going to find any good plays up there." And then Wendy,
Yeah, they didn't really like this Coach Maxwell guy. He catches
Wendy,
hell.
poor Coach Maxwell. You find out later he's really been crapped on. Wendy says, "Maxwell, you suck." And Peggy says, "Now, Wendy, honey, that is over the line. You need specific criticism, not just generalities." Again, all of these women are drinking in the stands.
All of them.
All of them are drinking Alamo in the stands
Well,
at a
it's a-
children's football game.
It's a Texas thing. Like back at the baseball fields as a kid,
No.
there was just adults drinking
Really?
beer. Yeah,
I don't remember that at all.
I remember that. And what a lot of it is it's
My
in
kids
cups.
played soccer though. I
Oh,
guess.
okay.
That's what it was.
Well, they're probably drinking something fancier than beer.
Yeah, it was
Probably
a lot
harder to smell the vodka on their breath than
lot
it
of-
is a
lot of white
strong
wine
malt.
A lot
Yeah.
of white wine at 8:30 in the morning. She says you need specific criticisms, not just generalities. And Wendy then rephrases it and says, "Maxwell, your plays suck." And Peggy's like, "Oh, much better, much better."
Which Maxwell is voiced by Stephen Root, which is
Oh, really?
Which is I
okay.
didn't think that. I mean, I didn't think it was that obvious.
Wait,
that it was him.
Maxwell or Wendy?
No, Coach Maxwell is voiced by.
Who was Wendy?
I don't know. It doesn't say. They don't have a voice for Wendy, so it's probably just
Because it's two lines.
It's probably just a random.
Maxwell, you suck.
It's probably just a random person.
So then we see that Joseph intercepts the ball and runs it back. We've got Dale up in the stands. Wingo, interception, Joseph.
Wingo.
He said, "Woo, that's our boy, a real All-American, Ireland's native son." And, of course, he's sitting in front of Redcorn and his wife and looks back at them. And so we're in on the joke there. We hear heads up, and a soccer ball comes and hits Bill right in the head. And then up comes a guy running, and he's got a yellow soccer top and shorts on, and it says "The Wind" on it.
The Wind, yeah.
And
Which
I'm
is actually
sorry.
a pretty cool name. I think so.
It's not bad, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty cool name. Well, it's a
If you
joke
can-
though.
if
It's
you
really a joke, but it is kind of a soccer name. But that's what they're trying to make fun of soccer. That's
I
what
have
it
many
is.
thoughts on the soccer slander.
If you can
I
find,
have a lot of thoughts on the soccer slander too, because me and Mike had discussed that in the live show that we did. Was it
Yeah,
the live show?
that's true.
Or no, it was
Yeah.
Friday when we recorded.
Oh, yeah, that's
whatever
right,
it
that's right,
was
that's right.
2 days ago,
Yeah.
3 days ago,
it's Friday.
whatever day it was. We recorded like 3 days.
Yeah,
we
it was
recorded
rough. Yeah,
like 3 days in succession.
we are
but,
caught up now.
yeah,
almost.
we're almost there.
We will be caught up today.
But we were discussing it, and let's go ahead and talk. Get the slander.
I
part out of the
didn't
way for
realize.
soccer.
I did not realize this was Will Ferrell until I
Yeah,
listened
it
to
is,
it again
it is,
this
it's-
morning.
yeah, it's
I
Will
did
Ferrell.
not realize, and when he said something, when he said, "Oh, sorry, the ball got away there," Coach Coleman Lucas, the wind. When he said
was
that,
Will
I was
Ferrell?
like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
That's
shit,
Will
that's
Ferrell.
Will Ferrell."
Yeah, the soccer
yeah.
guy's Will
And
Ferrell.
he was young too at this time. I mean, think about this. He's just getting into stuff.
Yeah, in the early, yeah. He's right
Yeah.
at like Saturday Night Live stuff. That's probably like some of the first things he did, outside of Saturday Night Live. But to talk to the slander, like you were talking about slander of football, actual football, with your feet, not with your
Football.
hands in the shape of an egg. But I don't understand why, and it's not like every state or people from every state don't have this perception of it, but Texas has a really, really strong perception of soccer being a weaker sport, which I don't understand because Texas is a strong Hispanic, area. I mean, it used to belong to Mexico,
I think
but
it's- I think
I just
it's
don't
the
get
shorts.
why.
Maybe it's more in more rural parts of Texas.
I
rural
think
parts,
I think
yeah.
it's the shorts. I think it's all the running.
It's definitely the shorts.
But
and
the
running.
I think it's-
basketball players' shorts, like
I
they used to
know.
wear the baggy shorts in the 90s.
I get it.
And they're coming back up to mid thigh
But-
like they were in the 80s.
Well, yeah,
Everybody's
but they're
wearing
doing a lot.
shorts again.
They're doing a lot more jumping, and it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
it's still
Well,
more
that's
of
the
a
thing
group
is
thing.
there was a video I'd seen on YouTube where they had two guys doing like aerial moves, and
Yeah.
one of them had on baggy long basketball shorts,
Uh-huh.
and the other one had on like the 80s style, and they were more nimble, obviously, when you
Actually,
ain't got
no. I
stuff
think
in
I
your way.
think it's because of the lack of the use of hands, and I
Yeah.
think
I think you're
as
right
a
about that.
society in mainly
It's-
Texas, we pride.
It's the
how
pad-
we use our
It's supposed to be
hands.
a non-contact sport.
Well, it's the pads, it's the helmet, it's the hitting each other, it's all of that. Soccer being a non-contact sport, even in basketball, there's a lot of contact.
Well, soccer, there's a lot of contact.
But-
It's not supposed to be as
but-
much as there is, but there's still a lot.
But football, oh my God, that's all it is
Yeah.
contact. And
You're
so
not
I
supposed to
think
contact
that's,
the ball in basketball. You're not supposed to contact the puck.
Plus, think about this.
No, it's different. They whoop each other's ass. In
Think
hockey.
about football. Football is a very, very American sport.
It is, yeah.
And I mean American football. It's a very, very American sport. You don't
is.
see football played other places. You see basketball played other places. You see soccer played
They have
everywhere.
a European football league.
I understand, but I'm saying
they have football leagues all over the world.
but I'm saying it is
You
not
mean
near as
no,
popular
because
as
it's
the
called
NFL or
everywhere
anything
else, everywhere outside of America. It's called American football.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it has.
I
its own
understand.
name.
I'm just saying that
But with-
football is a singularly American sport. We can lay claim to that version of football.
Oh, the version, yeah.
And I don't know
because it
that
started off in
any-
like college. Yeah, it
any
started off
of
with the
the-
colleges.
I don't know that
Harvard
any
and
of
all
these
those
other
colleges.
sports like that we can really lay claim to. And so I think that's part of it.
Baseball.
Baseball's
That's
played
probably-
everywhere though.
Baseball is
Cuba,
now played. It is
Japan.
now played everywhere. But talk about
Oh,
true.
Japanese baseball's been around for a long time.
Yeah, but true origination of that sport. Baseball
I'm not talking
is
about
here.
I'm not talking about where it was invented.
Oh, you're
I'm talking about what we can actually lay claim to.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
when
yeah.
when you're talking about football, you're talking about the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And when you're talking about the
That's
NFL,
it.
you're
There's-
talking about America. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
there's
that's
no
really
other
what that
league.
is.
There's
yeah,
no other
it's-
league.
I mean, they go overseas and play, and then there's Australian rules football, and there's all the other stuff. But if you're talking NFL, that is 100% American.
Yeah, they're
You
good. They're in the discussion right now of doing a European expansion.
Well, they say that
so adding four more teams to the league,
they say that
and that'd be the new division.
flying to like England to play, it takes just as long to get there as it does from like New York to Seattle to
Yeah.
play or whatever. So
Yeah, it is. It's
who
the same.
cares?
It's about the same. It's 8
I don't.
hours. probably.
It's whatever. I don't care. I
I think
just
it'd be cool.
I just think that is probably the reason that we care so much about football.
I think
I think
so
that
too.
has a lot to
Yeah,
do.
Johnny
it's
Hardwick,
the only
you're
sport that's
mean.
ours.
Johnny
All
Hardwick
right.
wrote this episode.
So
Oh, he did, yeah. And Coach Sowers also mentions one of his football players and mentions Johnny Hardwick's name too here in a minute.
So he says, Coach Coleman Lucas, the wind. And that's when I knew it was Will Ferrell. And then Hank, of course, who is ticked off at the fact that a soccer ball is near him, says, excuse me, could you face the other way or something when you do that? We got a real sport going on here. It's called football. And Coach Coleman Lucas, his two first names. Coach Coleman Lucas is bouncing that ball on his knees, and his pants are right in front of Hank, and I'm assuming he can see his balls or something. I don't know. But Hank is very worried about seeing this other man's balls. And Coach Coleman says, actually, the rest of the world, soccer is called football. You should try it. Soccer or football is excellent physical conditioning. Hank says, what's the point? Anyone can kick the ball under the goal. Which
Not if the goalie has
I
anything
think
to
it's
say
kind
about
of funny,
it.
though.
He tries to stop them, but don't worry, it's all in good fun.
It's all good fun. All right, and then the ref shoots off a gun
Yeah,
to
a
announce
starter
the
pistol.
2-minute warning.
Yeah,
which
I've never seen
I don't
that.
know that happens, but all right. Hank's like, 2 minutes. Oh my God, we could win this thing. And then we see the coach. What's the coach's name again? The one that's in here now?
Maxwell?
Maxwell. All I could think of was Hellman's mayonnaise for some reason.
I think it's Maxwell.
He said, well, all right, 2 minutes. Who hadn't played yet? Bobby Hill, get in there. And this is when we see the Cougars roster. And I have printed out the Cougars roster to let you
Okay.
know who all is on the Arlen Cougars. So we've got Joseph Gribble playing as fullback, and what I'm assuming, I don't know what that other position is, but fullback / something. He's number 23. You've got John Moraski, who's a quarterback / kicker. He's number 30. I'm guessing that a lot of these names are going to be inside jokes or people that work on the show. The third one is Frank Leisure. He is a linebacker, number 88. Then there's Mike Lyons. By the way, remember that one of the guys' name was Lyons that was on the team with Mark Gastineau.
Yeah, okay.
He is a free safety. He's number 95. Then there's Kyle Thompson, who is a running back, number 32. Miguel Lopez, who's a center. He's number 25. Mark MacArthur, he's an outside linebacker. He's 38. Alex Daniels, a cornerback, 22. Robert Melendez, he's number 31. I can't tell what position he plays. Then there's Nick Hollett, who is number 89. Raymond Eyre, EYRE, number 40. David Salvador, can't see the number on the rest of these. Then there's Lester something. I'm assuming it's Brown. Bobby Hill is last. And third from last is a player named Johnny Hardwick. So there you go.
Yep. Oh, Johnny Hardwick himself.
Johnny Hardwick. Okay. So the ref has shot it off. The coach is looking at the roster. Bobby says, "Coach, you can't put me in now. We can win this." Poor Bobby. He knows that he's so bad that he can't go in.
Why
That's
does Hank
impressive,
make
Mike.
him do this?
I'm sorry. I was just Mike's notes. They're pretty impressive. He's got the printout and everything.
Oh, man, I've printed out a lot here. Yeah, I got up early this morning. Bobby, they look over at him, by the way, before he says this, and he's just sitting on the sidelines. His face is just covered in chocolate.
Yeah, just covered in chocolate from
He's
eating.
just
Yeah,
over
yeah.
there eating chocolate the whole time. Dale says to Hank in the stands, "Hank, he's putting your boy in." And Hank says, "Oh, I'm on it. I'm on it." And Bobby is still arguing with the coach. It's just bad strategy putting me in. It's just terrible.
His dad didn't even have to come down and argue. He's
No.
already argued for himself.
Hank comes up and
He
says,
won't want no business out there.
Hank says, "Coach, Bobby's been cheering awfully hard today, and I'm afraid he might have worn himself out already." Coach says, "You know, I like to play every player at least 2 minutes a game." Hank says, "Can't you just let him play 4 minutes
the
next game?" And then
it was an important game. Yeah.
Bobby starts running in, and Peggy from the stand says, "Bobby, mittens!" And he's got those damn mittens on that have the string that go all the way through so you don't lose them. He's got freaking mittens going on the field. All right, so his mittens stay on. Later, we are at Smiley's Ice Cream and Pizza Parlor, parking in back, by the way. I would like to mention something real quick where I think Smiley's comes from.
Where?
So it's another one of my notes. When I was a kid, there was a pizza place called Shakey's. Shakey's Pizza. Shakey's Pizza.
Was it made by people who were
No,
quitting alcohol?
no,
And they
it wasn't
your
anything
pizza
like
was
that.
like
Stop there.
just shook up.
So, no, Shakey's was a weird little pizza place. It, if you are from Waco and you are listening to this, it was on Valley Mills Drive, where that Mexican restaurant number 9 is now, across from where Hastings used to be, right over there by Fuddruckers and all that.
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. It's next to Little Caesars.
Yes, it's on.
Is
it's
this
on
when it
North
was still
Valley
a dirt
Mills Drive.
road, or
Huh?
is this when Valley Mills was still a dirt road?
Yeah,
or?
this is yeah. We had to write on tablets and wait for a week for it to come back before we could get our letters and stuff. No, Shakey's was a pizza place, and the thing about Shakey's was you go in and the guys that worked there, and it was mostly guys that worked there. Now there were waitresses, but there were guys that worked there who wore straw hats and suspenders and like old timey ice cream social kind of uniforms, right?
Yeah.
You know, that red and white stripe, like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins kind of thing. right?
Yeah.
So he looked like that, and they would sit there and play the banjo while you ate your pizza.
Kind of like In and Out or something like that.
They would just play.
Yeah.
Well, not even, but with a straw hat.
Yeah.
Not
with a
a,
straw
yeah,
hat.
yeah. It was weird. So Shakey's Pizza, and this is taken from Wikipedia as of this morning. It says Shakey's Pizza is a pizza restaurant chain based in the U.S., founded in 1954. It was the first franchise pizza chain in the United States. First franchise pizza chain in the United States. In 1968, the chain had 342 locations. The chain had about 500 stores globally and 58 in the U.S. And as of July 2019, currently the stores can be found in the states of California, Washington, as well as in the Philippines, Singapore, and Japan.
That happens a lot.
Yes.
Like fast food joints.
Yeah.
I watched a video of random. I was down a rabbit hole one morning, and I watched a random video about dead food, restaurants.
Yeah, I watched those.
And there's so many of
Yeah,
them
there's a lot
that
of 'em.
survived in
Overseas.
In overseas. And
Yeah.
it's mostly Southeast Asian
Yeah.
market. That
They love
survive in.
concept stuff.
Yeah, I
anything
guess
that's a
so.
concept. Shakey's Pizza was founded in Sacramento, California in 1954 by Sherwood Shaky Johnson and Ed Plummer. Johnson's nickname resulted from nerve damage following a bout of malaria suffered during World War II. What a mean nickname. They called
So
it
crazy
this
mean
guy's
nickname.
Shaky. The parlor opened on a weekend, but since the pizza ovens were not yet completed, only beer was served. Shaky took the profits from the beer sales and bought ingredients for the pizza the following Monday. Shaky personally played Dixieland jazz piano to entertain patrons.
So he didn't have ingredients, sold beer.
That's right. He just
bought
sold
the
beer.
ingredients
That's right.
with his
the
beer
the next Monday.
The next Monday.
Yeah, he just opened a bar. Is all he did. But Shaky personally
That's
played
funny.
Dixieland jazz to entertain patrons, also hiring the original members of the Silver Dollar Jazz Band, paying the musicians $10 each plus all the beer and pizza they wanted. And here's the kicker to that story, right?
Yeah.
He paid them $10 a piece and all the beer and pizza they wanted. Shaky soon realized it was cheaper to pay the musicians scale. So apparently
Yeah, so
they
he
were
started paying them
they were
instead of-
kicking his ass in pizza and beer.
Yeah, he
So.
stopped feeding them and started paying them. Yeah.
Anyway, the place is called Smiley's, and I can
Smiley's.
only assume, as someone who grew up in Texas, that
it's
Mike Judge remembers Shakey's.
yeah.
Shakey's was around back then, and it started to die out in the 80s. But I'm hoping that that's what that is in reference.
That could definitely be it.
Because it was very much a family type place, and all this stuff. So I can see how these meetings would take place there. So
it didn't say Smile the Hut,
no, that's right.
So,
That's right. It did
know,
have a little hutty type
or
the thing,
Smiley-O's.
but
you
it's
know.
Smiley's, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Or
s-
Smiley John's.
So,
Yeah.
Smiley John's.
So Shaky was the king before Papa John came to town.
Yeah. I think Shakey's outlasted Papa. He never called anybody the N-word on a conference call. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Shaky.
Okay, so we are at Smiley's, and Hank is over there writing something on a notepad with all these other guys around him, the 4 guys plus other dads. It says, "Put Bobby in if outcome of."
It's like a
The game.
contractual agreement.
He
yeah.
said, "Do not put Bobby in if the outcome of the game can be affected in any way." There. And then they take over the note to Coach Maxwell, poor Coach Maxwell, who's over there eating by himself.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Coach Maxwell, I and some of the parents." And then Dale's just like, "You suck." Just in the middle
Yeah,
of it.
I feel bad for the guy because he's probably not even.
Well, that's what they
a
say.
coach. We go, yeah,
That's
he
what
goes,
they
I'm not even
say.
getting paid to do this.
Yeah, they say Hank's like, "Now hold on, what we have here are some suggestions." And then the other parent goes, "No, Dale's right. He does suck."
Yeah.
Then Dale piles on, "You're not being paid to screw up." And the poor guy, Coach Maxwell, he goes, "I'm not being paid at all. In fact, I still haven't." And he's kind of trembling at this point, like
Yeah,
he's
about to
being
cry.
attacked.
They're
here.
breaking him. Yeah, he starts to
And-
weep.
And he says, "I'm not being paid at all. I still haven't been reimbursed for last week's pizza."
And they starts to cry at this point. Oh, and if you guys are too busy, could you please just go to hell? And then he
Could you
runs out
please go to
the
hell?
pizza place.
This is his origin story. His villain origin story.
This is his origin story. Yeah, and
And
then he
so-
becomes Batman.
Hank says, "Dale, what'd you do with last week's pizza money?" Dale goes, "I bought a hat." So Dale stole all the money and bought a hat.
Dale's a jackass. I couldn't be that guy's friend.
No, Dale would be tough.
Bill's not even as bad. I don't even
Bill's
think Bill's
not
as bad as Dale.
Bill's
'cause
just
Bill
you
ain't
just
gonna
feel
steal from
sorry
you.
for Bill. I'm sure
Yeah.
you get tired of it after
Well,
a
Bill
while.
wouldn't steal from you.
No, Bill would never steal from you.
Dale
no.
will literally steal from you. He will lie to you. He will manipulate the situations and try to ruin your yard. I mean, I don't know. Dale is convincing me that he is just a.
Dale's a
good-
turd. He's
not
a real
good-
turd.
Not a good friend.
So we're back in the alleyway.
But then he does stuff like swap tanks. So
Yeah,
Hank has
yeah.
the more full
Yeah,
tank in
that's
case
true.
somebody. So I don't
Yeah.
know. He's It's a dichotomy.
It is a dichotomy, an animated dichotomy.
Yeah.
We're back in the alleyway. Bill is talking. He says, you know who would have won that game? Coach Saunders. Everybody's like, yeah, uh-huh. He says, yeah, you know who would not have played Bobby? Coach Sowers. And he's like, yeah, everybody agrees. And he goes, and you know who we should get to coach Bobby's team? Coach Sowers. And Dale's like, that's a gribble of an idea. He's
Bill.
never used that phrase before.
That's funny.
That's
I
a
like
gribble
that one.
of
I'm
an
gonna start
idea.
using that one. Yeah, it's a gribble of an
It's,
idea. Whenever my son's being a bonehead, that's a gribble of an idea, son. Yeah.
So we are. Everybody is in favor of this idea. They're going to go get Coach Sowers from wherever he is. They're going to dig him out of a hole, and they're going to bring him in to coach the team. And I think this is a great time for us to take a small commercial break, and we will be right back. All right, we are back, and we are now on the hunt for Coach Sowers. The boys are going to go grab him from whatever depths he's sunk to, and bring him in to save this team, because God knows the middle school Cougars need saving. We first see Coach Sowers in like a profile, and you see the stands and everything behind him, and it's like he's looking at the heavens kind of thing, you see this mighty coach, and then the camera pans out, and he's working at Foot Locker, basically.
Working at a
right?
Foot Locker, yep.
So he says to some kid who's trying on shoes, he says, if those are too tight in the toes, I'll get you half size bigger. And then Hank and the guys walk in, Coach Sowers, and he immediately recognizes the guys, which is amazing to me.
Immediately.
Yeah, he's like, Hill, finally got a haircut.
Well, that's the thing is we find out why he remembers them later on.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
a specific
sure.
reason
Yeah,
why
there
he
is,
remembered them.
definitely. He says, Hill, you finally got a haircut. He goes, oh, you noticed. He said, Boomhauer, how are you folks? Boomhauer says, and this is another key
we
piece
find out about
to
where
Boomhauer's
his family's
parents.
at.
Yeah.
And the key piece to, I think, like the anonymity of his job at this point.
Yeah.
Like, why does he not have a job? Well,
He
his
said-
parents win in the lottery.
He said,
Would explain it.
man, doing fine, man, down Florida, man, a lottery winner, man, no problem, man. Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
It's kind of like when they were trying to tell about the Woo-Loo-Loo
Yeah,
Wimitanye
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and he was like,
Anything he says, people just
yeah,
like, I don't know. I don't know what
okay.
you're saying.
He's like, well, if y'all hear anything, let me know. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. He goes, Gribble, no one's killed you yet? Dotree, my God, what happened to you? He goes, oh, it's a long story. Do you remember? And Hank, thankfully, kicks
Coach,
in.
yeah.
He goes, look, Coach, came by to see you. Well, because you're the best coach Ireland's ever seen. And by the way, there's a kid back at the register that we find out later his name is Kurt because it's on his name tag.
Yeah.
This kid, I don't know what he's doing behind him, but it looks like he's just blowing into his thumb. Like blowing into his hand the whole time. I don't know what he's doing.
Like a kind of like a
It's
Three
like-
Stooges
it's like-
thing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like he's blowing up a turkey with his
That's
hand or
funny.
something. But anyway, the kid's just in the back doing this
Just out
thing.
there wigging out.
And he goes, how would you like to coach again for my son's football team? Coach again? And he just immediately pulls his thing off, his name tag, slams it down on the counter and goes, I quit. And Hank goes, whoa, it's not really a paying job. And so Kurt just hands him back his name tag.
And he goes, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So he gets his whistle back. Now we're in bed with Peggy and Hank once again, which we have come to realize this is an ongoing thing. Hank is saying, I don't know what I'm doing in bed. I'm not going to sleep tonight. And Peggy's like, oh, well, Hank, you devil. Starts taking her glasses off and leaning over. And then Hank leans up and she just falls flat on her face right into the bed. I'm just so excited that Bobby's going to have the Coach Sowers experience. I can only hope working at the mall hasn't knocked the fight out of
You know,
him.
I just don't understand. Like, as a grown man who constantly talks about his football experience, he has to remember how shit of a human being the coach was and how bad.
Well-
I mean, it doesn't matter about going to state and all that. Like,
It's like anything else. It gets romanticized over the years. You know,
Yeah,
you forget about
he's
the bad
more
parts.
associating with
Yeah.
getting to state and just that glory than
Well,
more
just-
the actual
Yeah,
process
I
of
got
getting
you.
there.
And again,
Well, it
that
kinda
being the
reminds me
peak of
of,
his life, you know. I mean,
yeah.
that again.
well, that's the thing is a lot of people. I've never understood that. Like, because if I peaked in high school, I'd be fucked. Honestly, if that was my peak. peak. That would be like that would have been drastically sad to be my peak.
I'm always scared. I peaked in high school.
No,
I wasn't even that good in high school.
I feel like that if that was my peak, that would be sad. That would be sad. But
Sad
I don't consider that my peak. Obviously, I'm not even at the peak yet. But it's just crazy that so many people, like you said, romanticize and they live. They're 50 and they're still talking about the
I enjoy peak
16,
coffee.
17, 18 years old, like when they were like, oh yeah, you remember when I threw that football 70 yards over the mountains? you know, it's like,
Hank always,
what does it
Hank
matter?
always brings up the football game first, and not the fact that he met the mother of his child.
Well,
there
it's
in high
also
school.
yeah.
It was
And
actually a high school athlete that made me think that way. He was like, what I'm doing doesn't matter. He goes, I'll play for 4 years. I'll never play again. He said, and like, that's it. He said, oh, well, you know, that's just a part of life.
It's like Uncle in Napoleon Dynamite too. You know, the same guy. That guy gets represented in movies and TV shows a lot. So Peggy is the one to bring him back down to earth. She says, I don't know, honey, that man could be a tough taskmaster. Let's not forget that you used to call him Sour Coach Sowers. What a wonderfully inventive nickname.
Super
Sour
inventive.
Coach Sowers. She goes, remember? He goes, oh, yeah. Boy, we came up with that one at a Fellowship of Christian Athletes picnic, Sour Coach Sowers.
And that has to be a Southern thing too.
We were good kids, though.
Was that a
He said.
Southern thing or is that a national like? Is
What,
that a national
Fellowship of Christian
organization?
Athletes?
Yeah.
I remember it being around here, but that's only because I went to a church school.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Well, I know you went to a church school. I mean, I didn't go to a church school, and my school had it. But it's I'm just curious if that was like a national thing or if that was just like.
Oh,
a
I
really
think it's a national
Southern
thing. Yeah, no, I
national-
think it's very much a national.
I thought it
thing,
had to do with us just being a really
But
Southern
I would
Baptist
imagine
area.
I would imagine it's a national thing, but I bet it is super popular in the South.
It's probably
And probably the
yeah.
Midwest too.
Yeah, Midwest. I can see that. Yeah.
It's probably their main base is probably Kansas City, Missouri.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So now it's the next day. We're at the Arlen Sports Complex, run by the Department of Parks and Rec, by the way.
Yeah.
And Hank is addressing the kids on the bench. He says he's a real high school football coach. He's tough as nails, but you're going to love him. And so Coach Sowers steps up and starts addressing the team. Fellows, my name is Coach Sowers, and I took Arlen High to state in 1974. The kids are like, wow, cool. Okay, great. He says, up to now, you men have been losing, but now you're going to be winning. Yeah, great. Okay, great, Coach. I'm going to ride you Dainty Joe's so hard you'll wish you were all dead. I'll chew you up, spit you out, take a big dump on top of that, and then I'm going to get tough. And he says, let's rev them up. And Hank's like, wow, pretty impressive. All right, you kids have fun. He just leaves.
Yeah.
So why do you think it is that when somebody says to your child, he calls him a Dainty Joe, and then he says, I'll chew you up, spit you out, then take a big dump on top of you, and then I'm going to get tough. That's not your first red flag?
I don't know. I feel like taking a big dump on top of you is not something that a coach would tell you.
No, that's rough.
He would call you a pile of turd or something, or shit. But I don't think he would say, "I'm going to take a big dump on top of you." I don't think that.
I'm going to chew you up. I'm going to spit you out. Then I'm going to take a big dump on top of you. Yeah, that's rough and again, middle school children.
And then I'm going to get tough. He's going to do all that. Then he's going to get tough.
And
He's not
Hank's,
tough yet.
Yeah, and Hank's just like, thank God, see ya. Bye. Just takes off.
It's middle school. It's
Yeah.
not even that important.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's middle school. Who gives a crap? All right, so the next thing we see is kind of a bunch of different scenes of Coach Sauer trying to train these kids.
It's called a montage.
Montage, thank you so much. I appreciate that. First, we see boys doing push-ups in the mud while the coach is spraying them down with a hose, which this is something you see in military stuff a lot of the times. He goes, eat mud. I said, eat it. And then Bobby looks up with mud all over his face and says, Coach, I think I swallowed too much mud. And this is the first time we get take a salt tablet.
Oh, yeah. Take a salt tablet. That's one of my
Take a salt
favorite lines
tablet.
ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have a friend, a real close childhood friend that me and him are both real big King of the Hill fans.
Yeah.
And we use that often. When he'll start complaining about work or something, I'll be like, take a salt tablet. He's like, oh, yeah, man, we had to move about 400 pallets, whatever. I was like, take a salt tablet.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that's what we do to each other. Well, I mean, we'll still listen to each other's problems, but, it's always funny to start off with, take a salt tablet. All right, now we can talk about it.
So now we see the boys all down on the ground in their uniforms, and the coach is walking on top of them. and he says, I'm walking in biscuit dough. Then he has a giant playbook that he hands to a kid that is so heavy that the kid just falls right down. He says, memorize it. And then we've got the boys running bleachers. And I don't know if you've ever run bleachers, but that
Bleachers
sucks.
suck. I did it voluntarily. I was never in a organized sport. I just like to run, and I was like decided that, oh well, let's see what running up these stairs a bunch would feel like, and no,
Yeah, it sucks.
kills your calves. Your quads are just burning and on fire. The back of your legs hurt.
Bobby and
Your
Joseph.
kneecaps are just start sweating.
Oh, sure. Bobby and Joseph get up to the top of the stairs, and everybody else is still running up and down. And they look over and they see the soccer field, and Bobby's like, "Oh, that looks like fun." And
Yeah.
they're watching the soccer kids jump on a trampoline. So
That's it.
that's
Yeah,
their
just
that's their
jumping up
big
and down on a
training.
trampoline.
Yeah. And then in the background, you hear one of the boys on the team go, "Coach, I'm bleeding." And what do we hear? Salt tablet.
Salt tablet.
Now we are with the boys running passing plays, and he's the coach is watching these kids pass. It's not what he wants, and so he says, "You call that a pass? Give me that ball, or I'll slice your guts out, hippie. I'll slice your guts out, hippie."
There ain't no coach
He
saying that.
says-
I mean, coaches say some stuff, but I don't think a coach is going
I'll
to say, "I'll slice your guts out."
out.
You got to remember that
It's not the hippie part
Oh,
necessarily.
these are middle
It's the
school
slice
kids.
your
Yeah,
guts
never mind.
out.
This ain't even high school. Like this
Oh,
is middle
yeah.
school kids.
No, it's rough.
In high school, you couldn't say that to a high school athlete because they're probably strong enough to whoop your ass as a coach. Like I went to high school. Like I went to a high school where football was an extreme heavy part of the culture. Not every high school is, but ours because we had a good football team, so the culture was into the football team.
Yeah.
And there were some guys that were just huge, and I couldn't imagine being a coach saying something to
Oh,
these
they're-
kids as crazy as "I'll slice your guts out."
They're allowed to be that way. That's the problem.
Well,
you
we
know?
had
I mean,
we
they're-
had high school athletes that were so good they could get arrested on Tuesday,
Sure.
and be on the football. Get arrested on a Tuesday for stealing from the organization they play for.
Oh, sure.
Breaking into the field house, breaking into the safe in the field house, stealing stuff out of it, and then get bailed out by the head coach and
Well,
then
they
play
were-
on Friday.
They were probably all members of the Christian Athletes.
Yeah, they were
I
part
mean,
of the
so
Fellowship of Christian
they're okay.
Athletes.
They just
Crunk athletes.
They're crunk athletes.
Hey, they were fast. They were good dudes. They were good, like really good football players. They were good at what they did on the football field.
And one of them was Crunky the Armadillo.
Crunky the Armadillo.
That's our new mascot, Crunky the
That is
Armadillo.
our. We need somebody to draw Crunky the Armadillo.
Hey, I draw basketballs. Do get on that.
Yeah, there you go.
We he's yelling at him. He says, "Run!" And then he throws a ball and hits one of them in the head. And then some of the kids they just keep running, and they're running off to the soccer team, just peeling off their uniforms, and they just keep going. He says, "All right, anybody else want to join him? Anyone else? Anymore?" And kids keep peeling off and peeling off. Again, he hits the kid in the head with the football, and then he turns to Bobby and says, "Butterball, drag that body back." Drag the body back. This guy's nuts. He's just nuts.
No, that was funny. That was one of my favorite lines of two. When he hit him out of hits him square in the back of the head and tells the other
Just
kid,
knocks that kid
"Yeah,
down.
go drag his body back." Yeah, hey Butterball. I like how he talks. Hey Butterball.
Hey,
Yeah.
Butterball, drag the body back. Next thing we see is Bobby is just dead on his bed in his room.
Smooth. Wow.
I think we've all been there. Hank comes into his room and says, "What's that on your upper arm there, Bobby? Is that a muscle?" He goes, "No, that's a lump from when I got hit by a football." He goes,
How do you even mistake a lump for a muscle? Like, they
goes-
need to get Hank some new glasses.
He goes, Dad, the kids playing soccer don't have any lumps or bruises, and Coach Lucas gives
Which
them
is
oranges
wrong.
at halftime."
Which is wrong. I did play a little bit. Like I played soccer all the way up until we had to like start for the season. I
Yeah.
played every practice, and you left feeling war smooth out when you went home. Your shins were all beat up because I was too poor for shin guards. So like it was it was rough.
I think a lot of this is
It's cold. Soccer is cold. It's wet. You play in the
Well, no, I'm
mud.
saying I
It's
think
just-
I think a
It's
lot
no
of
fun.
this the talk is comes from little kids soccer. You know, like I coached my kids when they were real little with soccer.
It's a disorganized mess.
When the only thing you had to worry about is everybody running the right direction. You know, everybody
Yeah.
run together.
Y'all
Stop
run
picking
together that way.
daisies.
Run
you
this
know,
way. Run
airplanes
that
go
way.
over your head every once in a while.
You got Mike on the sidelines going to the right, to the left.
I'm just hitting them in the head with
To the
balls,
right.
you know, and telling the other one to drag the other one around. But I think a lot of that perception comes from that because, yeah, the kids get orange slices and they all have snacks and all that stuff.
But
you know,
don't
and
forget
so-
American football. Your origins come from rugby and soccer.
Sure. I don't think anybody's arguing that. I'm just saying that,
it comes.
that a lot of these kind of comments come from that little kid's soccer.
You know why it's
The
called
English
soccer,
and Rusty
though?
is really coming.
It
out.
is.
You know why
It
it's
is.
called soccer though?
I can't wait until his accent comes out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But you know why it's called soccer? Because soccer was the nickname for football. The nickname for it was association soccer.
Mhm.
So the sport is being played on two different continents at this time. You got the English are playing soccer and football, and then the Americans are playing soccer and football. Well, what ended up happening is the Americans went with the slang for football, which was soccer. And that's why soccer is uniformly in America called soccer. In England, it's called football. But if you go look at what they call it for the Olympic events, it's called association soccer for the Olympic event because that is the like super, you know, whatever they use for it. So
It makes sense.
So it ended up being a nickname that ended up being like an official name, but they
Yeah.
ended up separating it, and the vernacular changed for both places. So we call it soccer, they call it football, something like that. Anyway. I
Welcome.
probably just made that up.
Welcome to This Week in Soccer.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hank is in there with him, and Bobby's griping and says he wants orange slices at halftime. Hank says, Bobby, I didn't think I'd ever need to tell you this, but I'd be a bad parent if I didn't. And this is I think this is one of the greatest things that Hank says in the entire series. This is one of my favorite quotes of Hank's of all time. He sits down on Bobby's bed and he says, soccer was invented by European ladies to keep them busy while their husbands were doing the cooking.
Yeah, this one
That's
kills me.
just the best. That's just the best. And then Bobby says, why do you have to hate what you don't understand? He goes,
This is a deep, deep, like 2 seconds of episode right
It is,
here.
it is.
Super deep.
this says everything you'd ever want to say about this show.
Wow.
He goes, why do you hate what you don't understand? He
I like
goes,
how he says it too, how the voice
it's
actor
like
says it.
It's like a
Super emphasized.
It's like a romance novel.
Yeah,
or
his
a-
sadness
or
is
a
like super
TV soap opera or
emphasized.
something. Yeah. He goes, why do you have to hate what you don't understand? He goes, I don't hate you, Bobby. He goes, I meant soccer.
I had to pause it every time I hear that. I don't know, because I watched it a bunch. I paused it every time at that
it's
point. I was
sad.
like, oh, I just had to cringe.
It's
I was
just
like,
the
oh, that's
best,
so
yeah.
terrible. Why would you say that? As a dad, why is that the first? Like, why does his
I
mind
don't
first
hate
go
you,
there?
Bobby.
That's just where his headspace is. He just
That's
he
the
thinks,
greatest.
yeah, no, that's rough.
And he goes, oh, yeah, I hate soccer. Yeah, I definitely hate soccer.
And then you see the look on Bobby's face, like, yeah, you didn't get any, you got nothing from that at all.
All right, so we are back at the Arlen Sports Complex, by the way, run by the Department of Parks and Rec. And Coach Sowers is there, and he says, well, there you are, Hill. Now, where's Butterball? And Hank's like, Butterball? Because he doesn't even know that the coach is calling his kid Butterball, which, you know, that's bad enough. Bobby gets out of the car, and he now has his The Wind uniform on.
wind.
And Hank says, oh, hey there, Bobby. You planning on loosening up our football team with some comedy soccer skits or something? Which, I mean, I understand, but how does Hank not know that this kid has so been entrenched in soccer at this point that he has a uniform?
Yeah, well, that's
Like,
the
what
thing.
has Hank
Is
been
it was
doing?
quick. It was a quick flip. He
It
said,
was a quick
"Screw
flip.
this." Well, you know, I mean, when you know, you know, you know.
I know. So
You
Coach Lucas says, Bobby Hill, time for step kick drills. Bobby's like, sorry, Dad. And then Coach Sowers says to Hank, breaks your heart, doesn't it? Take a salt tablet and throws the ball to him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's
Take a
exactly how
salt
me and my
tablet.
friend are. Yeah. His old lady leaves him and makes him sleep on the couch
Take
or
a salt
whatever.
tablet.
Take a salt tablet. You'll be all right.
All right, we are in the alley with all four guys, and Hank is saying, just when Coach Sowers was fixing to get those kids a victory, Bobby leaves sports and joins a soccer team. Leaves sports. and joins the soccer
League
team.
Sports, yeah.
Bill says, "Did Joseph leave too?" He goes, "No." Dale goes,
Team will
will
survive.
survive, Hank. He'll be fine." He goes, "Yeah, it's a terrible blow to morale, but of course." And then Peggy, you hear her calling from the driveway, "Hank, honey, I'm taking Bobby to soccer practice." And then Min
I
is
love
there.
this part. I love this scene right here. This scene is a really good men scene.
I mean-
This is like we haven't really had too many scenes that
No.
are just men and Peggy, like, or
Not
men
yet.
and one
Yeah.
person
Not
interacting.
yet. Yeah.
So she goes. So Peggy Hill has a flannel. She's going with a flannel, of course. And she goes, "Oh no, Peggy Hill, get real. You borrowed my nice sweater." And she goes, "Well, thank you, men, but it's not that cold out." And she goes, "Believe me, it's freezing cold if you don't take the sweater."
Yeah.
And then we find out, in
Yeah.
that case, I have a perfectly good flannel overshirt. When we
Yeah.
get to the
She
field,
goes,
we
"Okay,
see
you know
what-
better."
Yeah.
And she's just letting Peggy hang herself. She's giving her enough rope. We're at the practice in the stands, and Peggy shows up. She goes, "Woo, way to go, the Wind." That is a really hard name to
It's hard to
root
cheer for, yeah.
Way to go, the Wind.
Blow like the wind.
Way to kick that.
Bullseye.
He says, "Way to kick that ball downfield." And then she tells Allie, who I'm assuming is one of the soccer moms, thanks for this latte. She looks at her and she has this foam mustache now from
And then
drinking this
but
fancy
she's
coffee.
like rooting, and she's definitely less feminine than the women
Oh,
around
sure.
her.
Oh, yeah.
And then she has the mustache thing, which we all know from previous episodes that we just covered that one like
That Peggy has a
recently.
mustache?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just recently covered that.
Where she
covered
was
that
scratching
episode.
at her nose, and Hank was afraid she was growing a mustache.
Yeah.
So she's got that red and black flannel on, and the girls say, "Oh, Peggy," and they point out the milk mustache, and they say, "What a pretty overshirt." And boy, it is so catty when they start talking to her about this overshirt or anything, because these ladies are just stuck up.
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, well, thank you, and what a pretty sweater you are all wearing." And
All of them had some
at
kind of
that
cashmere
moment,
sweater.
you
Yeah.
can see it on her face. She goes, "Oh shit, this is what men meant."
She said it was going to be freezing cold outside.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely
Yep.
is now,
It was definitely freezing cold.
which is so weird.
Now we've got Hank watching the soccer team, and then Sauer comes up and says, well, what do we have here? A soccer mommy? As Sauer gets out of his car whenever he drives up, Hank says, "Look, Coach, I just want to apologize for Bobby quitting on you like that. I know you spent a lot of money Xeroxing these playbooks," and he's holding that gigantic playbook. He goes, "It's a collating. That's where they screw you."
What's that? What's collating? Or
Collating is like wherever you make, like if you were making a copy of a book,
Yeah.
as it copies the pages, it offsets them so that you can take them apart easily, and it doesn't mix them all up.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Damn,
Collation.
that would be expensive.
Today's word, collation.
This podcast was brought to you by the word collation.
Collation. So he says, "It's the collating. That's where they screw you. If you really feel bad for the way Butterball screwed me, you can be my assistant football coach." Hank says, "Well, I don't know." And this is where Hank's niceness is starting
Running
to kick
through it,
in.
yeah.
He says, "I don't know. With Bobby not on the team, it might make him feel." And he goes, "Okay, Louisa May, go play your ballerina ball. Just leave your penis in the bucket. Just leave your
Golly.
penis in the bucket."
Please don't leave your penis in the bucket.
He says, "Okay, well, I guess I can find a little time." And he just throws the book at him and goes, "Memorize it." We're now at the dinner table with Bobby, Hank, and Peggy, and this is the breakfast table, I guess, because it's the one in the kitchen. And Hank says, "I tell you, Peggy, the football team might go all the way this year. I sure am sorry you're not going to be part of that, Bobby, although you could be." And he goes, "I can't. The soccer team needs me. I'm one of the 9 co-captains."
I'm one of the 9 co-captains. Yeah.
Peggy says, "Bobby, I think your father would like to do something with both of you would like to do together." And Hank goes, "A movie?" And she goes, "Maybe you two could go see a movie together." He goes, "Sure, a movie. Why don't you set it up through Mom? I'm a little tight. I got to go stretch my hammies." And so he just leaves the table, leaving Hank to want to go see a movie. And it's terrible because Hank is trying to connect with Bobby and through the only thing he knows, which is football for the most part.
Yeah, for sure.
Either football or yard work. So we're at Men's, and Min is helping Peggy because Peggy has now figured out that this is a real thing. She says, "Cashmere sweater with pearl button. Now they like you." She goes, "Oh, it's just a sweater. If the other mothers don't like me for the wit and wisdom that is Peggy Hill, then I want nothing to do with them." She goes, "You not get it. You're soccer mom now. If you don't fit in, then Bobby not fit in, and that boy have enough problems." She goes, "How do you know so much about this?" She goes, "Connie played AYSO in Orange County. That's the birthplace of soccer moms. I start the whole sweater thing. That mine. So
Yeah.
what she's talking
Orange
about, the
County.
AYSO, is American Youth Soccer Organization. It was founded in 1964. Kids can start as
Okay.
early as the age of 4.
And this is a national.
It is a national organization.
National
Yeah.
organization.
So soccer teams from all over the country are part of this organization, and they help with bylaws and things like that. So that is the American Youth Soccer Organization. Next, we are back at the.
And they don't serve Waco.
Oh, they don't serve Waco?
Not that I can find. we
Well-
have the Heart of Texas Soccer Association.
Oh, no, they're part of that. They're part of that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
they're a
saw
part
that
of
this
that?
morning. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
they're affiliated with that.
Yeah.
They help fund it and stuff like that.
Right,
Okay.
right. I think it's just a
Yeah.
general overall bylaws.
My son actually, he just joined Heart of Texas Soccer.
Really?
He's 12, and I could never get him to do organized sports.
Salt tablet.
But he just decided he wants to play some kind of sport.
Yeah.
So he wanted to play soccer.
Soccer's a good one to
Well,
start them in.
he wants to play football, but he's not hit a spurt or nothing yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we were looking at the kids that are the size that, like, the 12-year-old, like there was this one 12-year-old football player who was like 6'1". I'm like,
Yeah.
how could I put my
No, your kid's gonna get killed.
small
Yeah.
kid with, and they're out there
Yeah.
doing real tackling. Now, if it was just like, if they took the tackle away from little kids and we're trying to save brains. Eventually, it'll all be flag up all the way up until high school. I
Well,
imagine eventually.
I don't know if you've seen, but the Pro Bowl this year is flag football.
Oh, it was last year too.
The NFL Pro Bowl. Oh, was it really?
Yeah,
oh,
that
I
was the
didn't
first year
realize
they did
that.
it last year. The reason why they're doing it is because nobody wants to.
Well, who the hell wants to play
Nobody
it?
wants to risk $45 million of
Well,
money on a broken leg or
They
something.
moved the Pro Bowl to the week before the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
which
nobody
is
wants to do that.
stupid. You're not
Nobody
going to
wants to
get
do
the
that.
best players to play it.
Well, you know what they have discussed, that some players have discussed, since they now do flag football, they want to do it like the All-Star basketball game and throw it in the middle of the season just to get it over with and out the way. That way you ain't got to worry about it into season. They'll pick the best players.
I think they ought to do it
from the year before and do it that
previous
way.
season. Have the Pro Bowl before the season starts and have it take place of one of the preseason games.
Don't they do it in Hawaii every year?
No, not anymore.
Oh, they don't
They
do that
move it
anymore?
around from place to place.
Oh, yeah, because
now.
they used to do it
Yeah.
just in
It-
Hawaii.
it
I
was
remember
just-
it used to be exclusively
Yeah,
Hawaii, right?
It was in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Rainbows Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, at the college stadium there,
Mhm,
right?
The
Yeah.
Rainbows. Yeah. So now we are back at the Arlen Sports, whatever the hell it is, sports complex, run by the Arlen Parks and Recreation Association, by the way. And it is a soccer game going on. The HBs, I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure either.
They have 1 point, and the Wind has 1 point. The whistle blows, and the coach says, "Tie game, everyone's a winner, yay!"
Yeah, that's funny.
Which that is the one thing I don't understand about soccer. I don't.
the tie
I don't
thing?
like ties.
Well, there is no tie. There's a tie all the way up until penalty kicks, and if nobody scores on a penalty kicks, then there's a tie.
yeah, but there's
But it's
a lot
because,
of ties.
well, it
there's
happens
a lot
that
of
way
0
because
to
it's a
0
very
games.
it's a very like strategic sport. That's why it's not like football. Yeah, football's a high offense. There's a lot of scoring, but soccer isn't the same way. I mean, it's just it's a whole different game. It's like hockey. Hockey ends in tie games. Soccer ends in tie games.
I'm just not crazy about any
of those sports like that.
And I'm not talking about just soccer. Football has started to end in a lot of
Yeah.
ties. And
Yeah.
I'm just not crazy about ties. I think there ought to be
I'm not
some way to figure it out. Like
Yeah.
this year in the NFL, we had an issue where one of the Buffalo Bills players got really, really injured, and they had to cancel a game.
They just just didn't have a replacement for
They
it.
didn't replace the game, and so the way of handling that was to have a playoff game at a neutral
A
site.
neutral site with a coin
But
toss.
you still would have had one team that played one fewer game,
yeah.
which
Well, the
I
thing,
don't really
the thing
understand.
for me that I guess the reason why it really wasn't super impactful to the NFL schedule was
Yeah.
because they weren't in contention. They
Yeah.
knew they were already in the playoffs. Both teams were in the playoffs. It
no,
was
that
all
was
about
that would have determined
well, seed, just seeding.
Yeah,
But what I mean is like if it was a game that mattered as
Yeah.
far as like
Yeah.
say the Bills were they'll never be in this position as long as Josh Allen's there because they're really good. But if they were in the position where they had to win that game to
Hmm.
even be in the playoff conversation, then it would have been a bigger uproar. But the fact that they were both shoe-ins for the playoffs, they already had made the playoffs. That's the reason why I
I
think that it was
guess.
so
I don't-
accepted. it did. I mean, this is so like minuscule, and I don't want to take away from like what happened to the kid because it is a huge thing.
Sure.
And it's crazy that
It's amazing to me that he was at that last game.
Yeah, and it's crazy that this
Already.
sport itself, like they put their lives on the line to play. Like they really do. They go out there and they're 300-pound dudes that slam into each other at like zero, you know, from 100 to 0, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take away from that, but man, it really did like a lot of fantasy stuff at the end of the fantasy football. Everybody was like scrambling how to pay people and stuff like that because of how weird all that stuff was. But I'm glad that the kid's safe and he's healthy. I'm glad that he made that because that really was like. I was watching that game and I just it was just silent. I just felt silent. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is.
I wasn't
They're
watching.
on top of him for not like I couldn't imagine be like the atmosphere of that stadium had to have been just off the chart. It had to be a crazy atmosphere because it did like the whole place just went silent, and you got to think those people were watching. They could see the kid being worked on.
I can't.
For 9 minutes.
I don't think it's ever happened that way where there was some sort of resuscitation that tried to take place.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think that's ever happened. I mean,
definitely
there's been some serious injuries. I think of like Joe Theismann breaking his leg in the middle of the game and stuff like that. And there's definitely been some super bad injuries. But I don't ever remember one where somebody literally would have died on the field had they not resuscitated him, you know. So that was a big deal. But my original
shout
point.
out to the Bills medical staff.
Yeah, my original point was that all these ties just it I don't know, it makes the game feel weird to me.
It does.
but-
It is weird. I don't know. I feel like, especially with football, if you go into overtime and there's no definite winner after the overtime,
Yeah.
another overtime.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I always liked sudden death. I thought that was a good idea.
And I don't like the idea of and there was a big uproar about it with the Bills and the Chiefs last year or whatever.
Yes.
When they made a touchdown and that's the end of the game, not giving the other side of the ball the opportunity to make it, knowing that the other side of the ball they've been matching touchdown
but
for
that,
touchdown.
that
kind of
used
thing,
to be the way it was. It was just sudden death all the time. You know,
Yeah.
first,
I like
first
sudden
team to
death.
get the ball. If you score,
Yeah,
you're,
that's
you're
it.
done.
Yeah.
You know, now at least it's a touchdown or you're done. If you get a field goal, then the other team gets a chance
gets an
to touch the
opportunity
ball.
to touch the ball. Yeah,
So what I'm saying is ties suck.
yeah, touch it.
So this is a tie, and everybody's a winner. Hank says, I was thinking of bringing Bobby to watch the Wolves rematch, just as my guest. And this is at Smiley's, and he's talking to Coach Sowers now. And he goes, who, Butterball? Butterball is dead to me. And then in comes Coach Lucas and Bobby and all the team in for ice cream at Smiley's Pizza and Ice Cream Parlor. And he says, goal, scoop of vanilla for everyone. And then Bobby sees Hank, and he runs over, and he says, Dad, we won a game without having to beat anyone, and then we practice high kicks. Watch. And then he started, kicking it.
And he starts,
doing those
he does
big high
that big
kicks
high kick. Yeah,
in front of Sowers. And he goes, yeah, whenever he kicks. And then the soccer coach is up there. Bobby's our best high kicker. Careful. Don't let the Rockettes find out about it. And Bobby's like, the Rockettes? Me?
the Rockettes, me, I could do that. That's really Bobby.
Sowers
That's
is
funny.
Sowers is starting to read through this handbook that the coaches brought in. It's a rule book, and it says
And
codes.
this is. I'm gonna go ahead and give a trigger warning right here.
Yeah, this
for,
might be a little bit.
yeah.
He goes, codes of conduct, cheer all good plays, respect every player as if he, she were on your team. What is this he, she? Some kind of science fiction deal or something?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
So the coach says, you don't get it, do you? We're their coaches, but we're really the ones who are learning. And these kids are pretty good teachers. He goes, all we have to do is listen. Now let's get going, gang. It's like, he goes, we don't want to be late for our cleanup project. Okay, so real quick. On the front of the rule book, it says HCYSA rule book.
HCYS.
HCYSA. That is
Hill Country Youth Soccer.
That is the Hill Country Youth Soccer Association. Yeah, it's a real thing.
And it is in South Austin area or something. It's like in the Austin.
It still exists. It says the Hill Country Youth Soccer Association, or HCYSA, was founded in 1983 and serves children ages 4 from 18 from Bandera, Centerpoint, Comfort, Harper, Ingram, Kerrville, Junction, Medina. Anyway, it goes through all of these, and it says in other communities in the Hill Country. We are affiliated with the American Youth Soccer Organization that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's a region. So AYSO is broken down into regions, and they're numbered too. So this would be Region 528, and it's out of Kerrville.
Right.
And if you know anything about Kerrville, there's not much in Kerrville except for maybe the soccer
A
association.
lot of soccer in Kerrville.
Actually, Kerrville is a really, really small town out that away.
They are.
I slept at the KOA there one time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, is it the KOA? Is that what they call them?
I slept
Campground
at
of
the
America?
HCYSA. Yeah, I think it is what they call.
That's the Airbnb. Yeah.
If you want more information on Hill County Soccer, you can go to hillcountysoccer.org to find out all about them. Yeah.
If
I mean,
you
it is.
were
It's
into researching soccer.
Well, I'm saying it's a great little
associations.
organization for kids that want to get into soccer and stuff.
Yeah,
So
for
I think
sure,
it's cool.
especially in this area.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to shout out to a classmate. They have a local soccer thing. They do SoCo Soccer.
Oh yeah,
That
SoCo.
Andrew does.
Andrew G.
Andrew G.
The
does
public
stuff with
affair.
them. He actually interviewed their daughter.
Yeah.
Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Ariana
Yeah.
was the girl that I went to school with. The wife of the guy who runs the whole soccer thing.
Yeah, good
and,
folks.
Shout out to them. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she was a good classmate. I wouldn't say we were
Andrew-
like best friends or nothing, but she
Andrew
was a good
has-
classmate.
Andrew has dropped probably 80 pounds working with them.
Yeah, he works out over
He
there.
went
That's
over
where he does
there
his
and
workout
started.
stuff.
Yeah, started
yeah.
working out at a soccer facility, which is crazy. to
Yeah, they
me,
do
but
workouts and stuff
it's
over there. They do
wonderful,
stuff
yeah.
for adults and
He
stuff
loves
like
it.
that too.
He loves it. Yeah.
They're really good for kids. So if
They've
you got
got
a kid that needs soccer drills and needs good like practice for soccer, that's a good thing over there. It's a free sponsorship.
If
ad
anybody
there.
is interested in talk shows on the Rogue Media Network, check out The Public Affair. With
check it
Andrew
out. It's
G.
pretty good. It's decent.
He's quite a character. Okay, so we have now figured out that they are the soccer coach is taking them on a cleanup project. Hank says, wait a minute, Bobby. I'm sorry, Lucas. I thought I'd take my boy to see that new space movie.
That new space.
He goes,
movie.
I hear it's got special effects.
He doesn't even know. Like he's just guessing that there's some movie about sci-fi in
Special
there.
effects. Hey, Bobby says, sorry, Dad, got to go. The one who collects the most litter will get to play goalie next game.
You know, that's the thing is like my dad would have had the name of the movie and everything to go watch. Like I don't know what guy doesn't know like what's in the theaters. Like at that time frame, because back then they didn't have all the amenities that we have these days for streaming and stuff. So like, and my dad was a big movie watcher because he
hear
didn't get a TV till he was like 10.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have TV for like 10 years. It was like 1970 when my dad got a TV.
I hear it's
in
got
his house.
special effects.
But,
And so the one thing I would like to point out is this is a little bit of a continuity thing between Bobby and Peggy. Bobby, as he's walking off and he's told his dad he has to go clean up litter, he ties that sweater around his waist and walks off. Yeah. And Sour looks at Hank and goes, "A space movie with Julia Louis-Dreyfus?" Which I don't know what friggin' space movie that is, but
I don't either. Artie might have told me what
that's
it
a hard
is.
pull right there.
I forgot to check my notes.
So now we're on the side of the road picking up
There
litter.
was no movie. I
Yeah.
looked it up. There's
Oh,
no
really?
movie.
Oh, good.
Okay, there was no movie. All
Look
right.
at Mason with the save there.
Yeah, he got
Julia Louis-Dreyfus sci-fi movie. I think she comes popping out of somebody's chest like Alien at some point. Okay, so now we're on the side of the road picking up litter with the soccer team, and Bobby is looking around, and he sees "Wolves Suck" spray painted on the side of the bridge where they're picking up the litter. There are a couple more things on the side of this bridge that I want to refer to. Once again, Crunky is there. Crunky the armadillo is spray painted on the side. Also, the word Ozzy, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Then there's one that says Led Zeppelin. And then there's one that says Oak KRE. I don't know what that means. So, Artie, if you know or could look that up, OAK-KRE, 2 words, Oak KRE, is spray painted on the side of the bridge. But Bobby is looking at these things and he goes, you know what this team needs? Tradition, rivalry. We could go and paint the bridge. And the coach says, great idea, Robert. We'll cover up all that graffiti. He goes, but my dad's rematch against the Wolves isn't until tomorrow. The Wolves haven't even seen it yet. And if we all work together as a team, they never will. This is one time when the Wind could use their hands. What a funny joke, Coach. Good job. we're back. This guy is not helping the cause as far as soccer goes, by the way. We are back at the football field, and Joseph is talking to Coach Sowers. He goes, Coach Sowers, I think what's my best, Joseph? Coach Sowers, I think there's something wrong with my helmet. He goes, and he shows the helmet to Coach Sowers. It's got a big ass crack right down the middle of it. I mean, the helmet is just destroyed. And he goes, then get over it and do the helmet test. Put on the helmet and run into that brick wall. He goes, yeah, right. End up with headaches like my mom, and he goes running off.
That
and he
shit
runs
killed
off
me.
to the soccer
But when he
team.
runs, he literally runs straight to the soccer deal, rips his deal off, and he just jumps in and
He
just
just
starts
starts
kicking
doing
the
it,
ball.
man. Just starts doing it.
Which he's a premium athlete.
Yeah.
Do you think that he becomes a pro athlete in his future?
Joseph?
Do you think that he becomes a pro athlete?
I think Joseph probably peaks in high school also.
And
I
lives in a
think he's
trailer
that
park
guy.
the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
I think he's
Yeah.
probably that guy.
I think he finds out that John Redcorn's his dad, and he goes and lives he goes on a spirit journey and
Maybe.
takes a bunch of ayahuasca in the wilderness.
Steps off a cliff.
Yeah, something.
So Sowers yells at him because he's now run off to the soccer team, and he goes, "You're going the wrong way. Hey, put your helmet back on." "All right, you big baby, I'll do it." And so he puts it on and runs his head into the wall and goes, "Ow!" and just falls over backwards.
Yeah.
Now we are back at the football field, and Hank is driving up. He gets out of his car and goes, "What the?" And he looks out onto the field, and the coach has literally gone off a cliff here. He is now in his convertible Cadillac car,
Cadillac car.
and he is chasing kids down on the football field in the mud.
Oh, you're talking about the drop top Pontiac Buick Cadillac motor vehicle. He's got that big square body out there just doing donuts.
He goes,
and
"What the-"
swinging it around. That's crazy that he would do that with that
Well,
car.
the coach is in there
classic.
yelling, and he goes, "You little pantywad, you think you're ready to play for the Wolves again?
What is
the
a panty wad?
The Wolves eat razor blades for breakfast. Run, you bunch of pudgy, butted softies. Run with your fancy sneakers with the pumps and valves, your little lights on the back that can set off a seizure. But what do you care? I ran around the world in a pair of Chuck Taylors for the love of Pete." That's a hell of a diatribe right there.
But what is a panty wad? Is a panty wad like a wedgie?
I think a
or-
panty wad is a wedgie
Or is a
of
panty
panties.
wad like a pad?
I think it is a wedgie of panties, yeah.
A wedgie
That's the way
of
I've
panties.
always understood the panty wad.
I always thought a panty wad was like they're talking about like a pad.
No,
it's
well,
like-
I mean, I guess it could be.
Because it's like a wad of cotton.
I guess it could
in a
be, but
pad.
whatever.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I've
That's what I
never.
always thought it was. I always thought it was weird. Like, why would you have a wad of anything in your panties?
I've never really dissected the word panty wad too much.
I just did. I literally just Googled define panty wad.
I like that he says that they have little lights on the back of their sneakers that set off seizures, but what do they care? Yeah, what do you care?
Run with your fancy sneakers with the pumps.
And so Hank is like,
I ran around the world in a pair of Chuck Taylors for the love of Pete.
Love of Pete.
Yeah.
So you see Hank step in front of the Buick or whatever it is and slams his hands down on the hood, and he goes, "What in God's name?" And you don't hear Hank say this very often. What in God's name is going on here?
yeah.
I mean, he is irate.
He had to ask it in God's name. He couldn't ask it. He had to ask on behalf
Yeah.
of God. What the hell
Sour.
are you doing, dude?
Sauer then says, "Damn it, I never did like you, Hill. You were a know-it-all and a do-gooder, and your teeny tiny, weak little girly ankle bone snapped in the finals.
I like how he
and you
screams
lost
and
me
stuff right
state."
here.
Hank is pissed, and he's like, "I
I'm the
lost
one
you
that-
state. I'm the one who got you to state."
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
No,
Very
you're
good.
fine, man. He goes, "I wish I'd never dragged you out of that shoe store."
Damn it. That happens every
Hey.
time. I don't know why. Sorry about that.
Hey.
It's noon.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's a noon wake up call. Just in
A
case I
noon
sleep.
wake-up call.
That's just in case I sleep
Just
past
in case
noon.
he
No, I
sleeps
never
to
sleep past
noon.
noon. I just like to know when it's 12 o'clock. I like to know when the day is at its midpoint.
Sure. The day is at its peak.
I have an alarm at 5:32, so I'll know when it's 5:30.
The day is at its peak. Do something. Okay. So he says, "I wish I'd never dragged you out of that shoe store." And then there's a kid in the back that he's in the mud. Poor kid. He goes, "Are we done yet?" And Coach Sauer looks at him and goes, "Why, you precious little candy ass." And he gets back in the car, starts revving it up, and he is literally going to run these kids over.
Yeah.
But he gets stuck in the
Yeah,
mud.
he's bogged down.
Yeah, he gets stuck in the mud, And then you see Hank come behind him with one of the big Gatorade things
And just
whacks
bust
him
him
in the
over
back
the
of the
head.
head. Yeah, and
Bust
dude,
him over the head.
dude
like-
just passes out.
So the
That's
guy
the
already-
maddest I've ever seen Hank.
That's the maddest I've ever seen him up to this point. So this is another one that people forgot then, because remember when we had the episode where we talked about Hank whooping someone's ass?
Yeah.
And we said the only ass whooping he had ever really gave anybody was Jimmy Witcher.
Yeah, it's true.
And then everybody was
This
like,
is-
oh, but he did something else to somebody else. Well, this is a second instance of Hank hitting somebody.
That's true.
But remember, this isn't an ass whooping. An ass whooping is he was chasing Jimmy Witcher. and
Oh, yeah, no.
consistently putting his
Legit.
foot to his ass
He was
multiple
he
times.
literally
Yeah.
kicking him in
his
the ass crack. Yeah. And so Hank says he hits him over the back of the head with that thing, and the kid in the mud says, "I think you hurt him. Hit him again just to make sure."
Just to make sure, yeah. They didn't like him, yeah, no.
So we're now at the game, and Hank is taking over the coaching duties since he have knocked the coach out. And the kid looks at Hank and says, "What do we do, Assistant Coach Hill? We're playing the Wolves on Saturday, and we don't have Joseph or your kid."
Yeah, or your kid.
He says, "Haven't you kids ever seen Rudy, a little fire plug of a never say quit at Notre Dame? I think he died of cancer after the big game." Okay, Rudy did not die of cancer after the big game.
No, he didn't. And go ahead.
And by the way,
He was a motivational speaker or something, right?
there is a big debate that a lot of that movie is not true.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you go online, there's a good article by ESPN that talks about Rudy and how Rudy says he met Elvis and all this other stuff that happened to him. And a lot of people are like, "Rudy, I think you're full of shit."
Well, I think that most people with the name Rudy are probably full of shit.
I'm not putting that blanket out there, but all right.
Or at least or at least dudes who paint their heads.
Sure, people that paint their heads. He says, "Never say quit at Notre Dame. I think he died of cancer after the big game." He goes, "All right, hands in the middle. God bless America on 3. 1, 2, 3. God bless America."
Yeah, I died on that one. That was
Which
great.
I love that. I wrote out God with like 17 O's.
I'm gonna make that my ringtone. God bless
bless
America.
The next scene we see, we end up with Hank talking on the phone to Bill. But before we see that, I think this is the first time since the first episode we see the skyline of Arlen. Like
Yeah.
we see the water tower and the whole thing, we see the whole layout, which is kind of cool. Then we go into Hank's house. Hank is on the phone with what we find out is Bill, because he says, "Well, I wish you had a woman too, Bill." He's like talking to Bill. But Hank is putting on that white shirt and the tie, and he's looking like Sowers. He's looking like that prototypical coach. And he says, "Oh, hang on. Hill residence." He goes, "Hank, Coleman Lucas. Just need your fax number so I can fax over Bobby's soccer diet."
Fax number.
Soccer diet. He
I
goes,
don't know what the hell soccer diet
he
is.
goes, "We don't have a fax or a fax number." "Oh, well, just give me your email address and I'll attach it." He goes, "Yeah, it's footballisgreat.soccerisdone.com. Goodbye," and slams the phone down.
That's funny.
Soccerisdone.com.
Well, and that's the time. Well, that's at a time where that joke would be just like
Oh, yeah,
utterly
it'd kill.
earth-shattering hilarious.
Yeah, that
It's
would
not as
kill.
funny anymore, but that joke then—that's the .com era. Literally the boom of the .com era.
So then we cut over to Bill. Bill is still on hold.
Yeah.
Bill is taking this time to inspect his armpits and smell them to see if he stinks. We are now back at the soccer fields. We're in the stands with the soccer moms, the snotty soccer moms. And one of them looks at Peggy, or Peggy walks up and she goes, "Hey, hey, hey," doing a Fat Albert imitation, which even at this time was out of place. I mean, it was out of place. It was old as the hills. And
Was
nobody
it
is
old
gonna,
at this point?
Yes. Nobody is going to look at you in, what is this, 92? Right?
99.
No, I'd be 96, 97.
96?
Oh, it's 99.
Oh, shit. Then, yeah, absolutely.
Well, you do forget. Okay, so I just had to double check.
Now, I know the movie.
Well, no, there wasn't the movie. There was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was 1997. Fat Albert came back to TV.
But that was before
so-
this. I mean, it was after this.
Was it?
Yeah. See, he just said this. Wait, when did you say this was? 99?
99.
Oh, well, maybe so then. I don't know. I just always thought Fat Albert after its first run was never like a big deal.
Never mind. I don't think
You know,
I
it was
think-
never like
I
a
think
big
my
deal.
information was wrong there. Well, yeah, actually, I remember. If you remember right, 2004 was the Kenan Thompson movie.
Yeah.
They came out with the Kenan Thompson
Yeah.
movie then, but that again, that's not 1997.
God, Kenan
so.
Thompson, what a prolific guy, man. I mean, he has been
Oh
so
yeah, his
much.
the fact that his career
Oh.
has lasted, like he literally started out as a sketch comic,
Yeah.
as a child sketch
Well, he's
comic,
like-
and
he's
continued on with it. He's funny. I
he
think he's
is
great.
the longest running person to ever be on SNL. I
He's really
believe.
been on SNL that long.
He's been on there like 16 years or something.
He's really been on there
He's been on
16
there
years by
forever.
now.
He's been on there a while.
He's
still
been on there
going too.
forever,
No, I
man.
know he's still
Yeah.
on there, but it's crazy to think that he's had the longevity. Like he
Oh.
beat out like literally like
The guy's hilarious too
huge
because,
stars.
like on SNL, he's the guy that always breaks, and it's just
why was
so
he never?
funny.
I just don't understand why he never got like.
He had a TV show for a little bit
yeah, but he was never
where
like
Don Johnson was his
Chris-
father-in-law.
He's not like big, like like Chris Rock big or nothing.
I don't
like
know,
that, or
man.
Some of them guys.
I would put Kenan Thompson up there with almost anybody because I mean he hosts the Emmys, he hosts all these award shows and stuff. I mean,
you
the
can't,
guys,
like
he's like
after
royalty at
Good
this point.
Burger, yeah, after
TV
Good Burger,
royalty.
yeah. I just don't understand why Kel didn't get as much love as he did.
I don't know. You'd have to ask DJ.
He
Jazzy
probably wasn't
Jeff.
as funny. Well, DJ Jazzy Jeff, he made a lot of money.
Yeah, but you'd have to ask him why he wasn't such a big
yeah,
deal.
Yeah,
is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I got you. He has a Twitch channel. He actually streams on Twitch.
Again,
DJ Jazzy Jeff.
again, I don't see Will Smith on Twitch much.
Nah,
So,
if
just
he
saying.
did, it'd probably break the servers.
Just slapping.
They
over
had
and over.
they had Drake stream with this is a few years ago. They had Drake stream with the Twitch streamer known pretty much by a lot of people, Ninja or whatever
yeah,
his name
I remember
is.
Ninja.
He had Drake. That's what made him big and famous. Really, was having Drake.
Mhm.
And then there's a guy that's kind of new. His name is Aiden Ross.
Mm.
His he played
Ninja 2.
he played NBA 2K with LeBron James's son, and LeBron James came on
Bronny?
Bronny had the phone and handed it to LeBron James while he
Yeah.
was live streaming, and
Yeah.
that's how he blew
Oh,
up.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he gets averages like 80K to 100K people watching his stream a night.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So she comes in and does this very outdated Fat Albert impression.
Super outdated. At this point, yeah, super outdated. 1985 was when it ended. So.
And then the soccer mom's being very snooty. So, oh, Peggy, that's a lovely sweater. See, you don't have to look dumpy at a soccer match. Which one's your son? Man, what a backhanded, shitty way to say something.
yeah, that's rough.
And Peggy feeling the love here. She goes, well, my husband Henry is bringing him in the truck. Henry, is that Hank's real name?
No, his name is Hank Rutherford Hill.
You don't think his real name is Henry?
No, it's Hank Rutherford Hill. I would
It's
think.
Hank. Are we sure?
No, she was trying to.
I know
to be
she's trying to
fancy.
up him. Yeah,
she's trying to be uppity
yeah,
and trying
I
to be
get that.
fancy. She's trying to keep up with the Joneses, so she changed.
But I'm
Hank.
saying, have
how
we?
country is? Hey, what's your husband's name? Hank. No, she.
But
Henry.
Have we ever seen his? Did we ever see his birth certificate?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That would be lore for somebody to go dig for us. But I'm pretty sure that she's just trying to be funny.
No, I'm pretty sure it is. It's just Hank. I think we see it when he's. No, we do see it when we learns he's born. He's a Yankee.
In New York.
Oh,
yeah, that's the one I
you
was
see
referring
it then.
to.
Well,
I
you
didn't
see
know
his
about
ID
that.
too
Yeah.
in that episode where they mix his gender up
All right.
and they put him as a female.
I
on the
just think
deal.
it would be funny if his name was Henry all along, and this is the only time it ever gets mentioned.
Yeah, that
So-
would be funny.
One of the snooty moms says, oh, you mean a sports utility vehicle, not a pickup truck?" She goes, well, yes, it's red. That doesn't prove anything.
Yes,
Hank,
it's
Peggy,
red.
but okay,
That
whatever.
Doesn't say anything at all.
Hank pulls up in the truck with Bobby. Bobby, being the good sport, says, "Beat those wolves, Dad." He goes, "Sure."
Yeah, Bobby's starting. You can see Bobby starting to lean back.
Yeah.
He's kind of like starting
Well,
to lean towards the fence again,
And
and
Hank,
not sure what he wants
Hank
to be.
trying to be nice, but always canceling himself out. Says, "So you have a good soccer game and beat those fluffy puffs or whatever."
Yeah, fluffy.
And Bobby
puffs or
says, "Dad,
whatever.
they're called Puffin Stuffs." Like that's any better.
Wasn't that a TV show, Puffin Stuff or something?
It was HR Puffin Stuff. Yeah.
HR Puffin Stuff.
He's
that
your
was
friend.
like a puppet, right?
Did you know that HR Puffin Stuff is your friend when things get rough?
Oh no, I didn't know that. Well, thanks.
He's
I
your
appreciate
friend
that.
when things get rough.
I might need him.
HR Puffin Stuff.
Was
He
he a
can't
puppet
do a little because he can't do enough.
with like an open mouth, like one of them?
He was a full body puppet.
Oh, a
yeah.
full body
And they
puppet.
had a magic flute that talked. And the kid
Yeah,
would blow
it's-
into the magic flute.
You know, I think a lot of these like TV show creators were on a lot of psychedelics.
This was
back
Sid
in
and
the
Marty
days.
Krofft. So they're the same guys who created McDonald Land with all the creepy McDonald's characters and stuff.
Oh, they created the
They created all
the
of them.
Hamburglar
All
and
of
all
them.
that. Oh, I didn't
Every
know
one
that.
of them. They created all of these.
Sid and Marty Croft.
And then they sent them to McDonald's. McDonald's says, no, we don't want those. And then McDonald's copied them, used the characters. Sid and Marty Croft sued McDonald's and won. And so
Wow.
if you ever want a really good story, look that up sometime. The Sid and Marty Croft story is
Wow,
great.
so the McDonald land, so you're saying that McDonald's plagiarized their concept, and
Yep.
then the boys went and sued them.
Yep.
Well, how do they end up with the mascots
Abso-friggin-lutely.
now? Did they sell that to them eventually or
They
something?
bought the rights out to
They
them.
bought
yeah,
it- they
yeah.
bought it right out.
And they've changed them over the years. You know,
they look
like
differently.
They
If you look
eliminated
at the original Hamburglar, he's
Oh,
terrifying.
yeah. And they eliminated the professor,
Or the
who used to
purple
be
thing,
a
sorry.
thing.
Whatever his name is.
They invented
Grimace.
Birdie when they started serving breakfast. The McDonald's lore is actually really interesting.
I've watched that documentary about
But-
the actual restaurant.
But Sid and
oh,
Marty,
the banana splits. They had something to do with the
yeah,
banana,
Sid and Marty
banana
Croft were
splits.
banana splits, the McDonald's character, H.R. Puffin stuff, Lidsville,
Oh, the Bugaloos, Wonderbug.
Bugaloos, Wonderbug,
Electric Woman and
Electro
Dyna
Woman
Girl.
and Dyna Girl, which is one of my favorites. Yeah, Dr. Shrinker was one of my favorites. Also, I remember telling my mother we had to cut it short on garage sales one Saturday because I needed to go home and watch Dr. Shrinker.
Oh, yeah. Well, that
They,
sounds like
Land of the Lost also.
Oh, yeah?
That's them. Yeah. Yeah, he's your friend when things get rough. You can't do a little because you can't do enough. So we are back on the soccer field now, and the coach is saying, good, get a good stretch, extend. And he's talking to all these kids about doing their high kicks and stuff. And you hear the snooty moms back there in the stands going, I know it's bigger than the other SUVs, but it makes me feel safe. I mean, if I have an accident in that thing, I'm gonna live. And then under her breath, Peggy is just like, Peggy is not part of this crowd. She's like, I am here for my son. I am here for my son. She's trying to convince herself not to say anything, not to get nasty.
Yeah.
Another one of the ladies, well, for me, it's all about convenience. Mine's got everything from headlight wipers to heated seats. Peggy, that is enough for Peggy. She breaks and she says, oh, well, isn't that it? You know, my butt is either warmed in my car seat or covered by my sweater. I have to keep it at optimum temperature or I could die from mild discomfort. And you know what else would just make me die? If by some mistake I paid so much attention to my child's game that maybe I raised my voice. Oh, I would just die. Or I would if I got stuck with a bunch of losers who couldn't recognize a dead-on perfect Fat Albert impression. Well, I would just die 1,000 deaths. You know what? I've got a football game to watch. And she throws that sweater on the ground and just storms off. Then she comes back and goes, oh, that would be men's, picks up the sweater, and then she walks off. We are at the soccer game, and Bobby is like, go, Joseph, go. And the coach is, slow down, Joseph. We've already got the tie. We don't have to hurt anyone's feelings. See, this all comes from the kids' soccer stuff.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
You know, but this is Joseph steals the ball. He blows down the field. Bobby is over on the sidelines blowing dandelions in the air. And Bobby he has come to the point where he's had enough also. He goes, why don't we just give him the dang ball after the coach says we just want a tie? And so finally, Bobby just says, screw it. He looks over. He sees the football game taking place.
Yep.
They're getting their butts handed to them.
Whooped.
And it is currently 13-0 Wolves over Cougars. As he's watching, the Wolves score again, so now it's 20-0. You see him kick the extra point, and Bobby's just like, screw it. He grabs the ball. The coach says to him, no hands, you're not the goalie. And Bobby's talking to the rest of the team. He goes, come on, y'all. We were all Cougars once. We're getting our butts kicked over there. I, for one, have had enough of this dang lawyer ball.
Lawyer ball. He finally called it lawyer ball.
Lawyer ball. And
Which I don't understand why he called it lawyer ball, because wasn't Hank referring to lawyer ball? I know he said lawyer ball before, but was he referring to soccer when he said that?
Oh, I'm sure. It has to be. Because it's like, nobody can touch anybody and everything's
No, it was
regulated.
when Bobby was arguing with him about 110%.
Oh, yeah.
Quit
I
trying to
guess you're
play
right.
lawyer ball with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bobby ends up getting back into his football uniform. I'm not sure where that was or how he got into it so quickly. He goes over to his dad and says, Coach, I'm here if you need me. Hank is taken back. He's like, Bobby. And Bobby says to him, I'd rather be on a losing football team than a winning soccer team any day. He goes, well, all right, son, you're back. And Bobby says, and I brought Joseph with me. And that's when Hank really perks up.
Yeah.
He says, all right, Bobby, way to go. Get in there. And he's talking to Joseph, of course. Split right, button hook on 2. That was good strategy bringing Joseph back, Bobby. Stick with it, and you can make a good coach someday.
Yeah.
Bobby's like, I still want to wear my uniform. Hank's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then
whatever.
Bobby, putting a button on it, says, and a cape. And a cape.
And a cape.
And that's
He'll
it,
be the
man.
only coach with a cape. Yeah.
We go to credits, and the next thing we see is Peggy going up during the credits. She goes back up into the football stands, and she's back with all the ladies drinking beer.
Yeah.
She said, "Woohoo! All right, go Cougars, go! Kick some wolf tail." And they're like, "Oh,
Well.
yeah, here comes Peggy Hill."
Hill
And-
coming back to football.
And that lady has a beer mustache.
Yeah, Wendy tossed me a beer.
She looks at her and goes, Wendy, and then she says, fuck it. Says, toss me a beer. And then she ends it with a big old burp.
Well, you know, Mike, we talk about alcohol at children's sporting events. Yep. We live in a society in Texas where if I don't know what's in your cup, I don't have the right to ask you what's
It's
in
true.
your cup. So,
It's true.
yeah, there's a lot of sporting events where I've been to that I've been privy of people drinking alcohol. As an adult, I've been to places where, you know, the mom will have a cup full of, you know, coffee cup full of white wine.
Oh, yeah,
or,
sure.
a coffee cup. You know, the coffee cup, as this is, where this could be full of hooch right now.
Sure.
And nobody would know it.
I don't care.
Besides by this, well, you don't
Yeah.
care either.
Yeah.
I don't care either. But I don't drink and drive. But they hide them in these coffee cups. They go to their Starbucks. You know, they polish off the Starbucks and then they,
Sure.
you know, pour whatever they're going to pour
Well,
in
you
there.
put a
to go
little
to their parties.
Sambuca in there.
A little Sambuca, yeah.
All
Is
right.
Sambuca like kombucha?
No, nothing like it. It's coffee-flavored liqueur.
Oh, Sambuca is coffee
Sambuca.
flavored. Sambuca is coffee flavored liqueur.
Yep.
Well, where I come from, they put Bailey's cream in
Yeah.
their coffee.
Yeah. Bailey's,
A little bit of Bailey's.
Sambuca, all those kind of things are. It's your morning
Yeah.
alcohol. You know,
Your
your
morning
alcohol.
drink.
Okay,
or you could drink a slow gin,
that's true. You could drink a slow gin, I guess.
whatever a slow gin is.
I
just heard it in. It was Prince Harry was talking about drinking alcohol with the Queen Mother for the first time.
Slow gin
And,
fizz is.
He said the Queen Mother always had a slow gin.
I used to love gin.
A mother's ruin.
Then we get the credits, and then the final thing we hear is Coach Sowers saying,
Take a salt tablet.
"There you go." All right, you want to tell them where they can find us?
Yeah, you can find us at BWAAAKOTH everywhere. I have a link tree set up for you, so it makes it a little easier to find all of our links. linktr.ee/BWAAAKOTH. You could find all of our links there. That's our YouTube, our Spotify playlist, which we are going to modify. We're going to set that back up. Like we've been busy. Mike's been busy. I've been busy. So we're going to get back on track and give you all the content. We're going to try to refine some more content. Again, if you have any ideas for content, we're open to all ideas and brainstorming
especially
sessions.
for Fridays.
If you guys would be interested in a group brainstorm session or a group chat sesh where you get to interact with me and Mike in a group
should do
setting.
one of those.
Yeah. I've
Like
been
a
thinking
Zoom
about
call.
it. Yeah, like a Zoom call.
Yeah.
If you guys are interested in that, reach out to me on any of the social media platforms.
That sounds fun as hell. I'd do
And
that.
we could set that up. And just reach out to me anywhere. You could reach out to me on the email, bwaaaakoth@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You could reach out to me on the Instagram, the Twitter. I think I'm about to dissolve the Facebook. The Facebook doesn't get very much traffic or anything like that. So if you are somebody
We'll
who,
keep it around.
well,
just for the hell
yeah.
of
So
it.
if you're somebody who uses the Facebook or sees the Facebook,
let us know.
Post stuff, put stuff up there.
Yeah,
I really want
please.
to, like I get that's the least amount of engagement I get is off Facebook, and it's the place where the most human beings actually are. So all you guys are telling me is that Twitter and Instagram is where the traffic is.
I
These
told
days.
my grandmother to go to Facebook, but she died about 15 years ago, so she didn't go.
My 90-something-year-old grandmother has a Facebook,
Really?
or did at one point. I don't think she has one anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She uses WhatsApp to communicate with the states. Yeah, well, because we're
Hey,
across
everybody.
the land.
WhatsApp.
You can't text by a phone number with them. You have to use WhatsApp.
Oh.
But she gets around the technology. I
Well,
mean,
good.
She's been she remembers the being 12 years old when World War II started.
Wow.
So, listening to the bombs and stuff outside the house there in
Scary
Manchester.
as hell, man.
Yeah,
Scary
crazy
as hell.
stuff.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We
Yeah,
really
we
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
I know this is probably a little bit of a longer episode, but
But we're
we
trying to give y'all something, you know.
put a lot
we've
of
been
work
gone.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah, we've been
kinda
gone and
so-
kind of not gone, but not in the mindset that we needed to be in. But
Yeah.
we hope that you guys enjoy the episode and continue to enjoy our content. The
a
numbers
great
show
one.
that y'all do, so
It's a
we
great one.
appreciate everybody.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us. And last thing to say is.
Take a salt tablet. No, Wimitanye, y'all. Wimitanye.
Wimitanye, indeed.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.